Why I stopped calling Jesus YAHAWASHI, and what changed my mind? Why does the Lashawan Qadash make you unknowingly, inadvertently invoke the God of Islam? We're gonna talk about it today. This is TGC Ministries. I'm Priest Sakai, aka Deacon Genesis. We want to give all praise to the Most High and say peace, blessings, and shalom to everybody who's watching and to those who will watch the post recording. I'm joined by my beloved brother, and this is a championship game. Remember how Michael Jordan still scored 30 in the championship game with the flu? Our brother Hassad has the flu, so make sure we send up prayers for the restoration of my brother's health. What's going on, King?
All praise on the Most High. They're going to send up prayers that it gets even worse. They're going to pray in Yahawashi's name. I want to say this too before we get into the presentation. I know that a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, you guys are changing everything up." I know we addressed some of that early in the presentation. First, you guys, you're saying you guys are a ministry. Now Gentiles can be saved. Now you guys are using the name Jesus. You guys must have got paid off. And clearly, that's not the case. And I'm kind of giving a little spoiler alert here on from the get-go. His name isn't Jesus. Okay. Spoiler alert. That's his name is not 2,000 years ago. He wasn't being called Jesus. James didn't say, "Hey, Jesus, can you pass me the bread?" So that's just how AI made the thumbnail. So before you guys lose your brains, we can continue on. But there's going to be a bunch of people who don't hear me say that. They're going to think, so maybe I might repetitiously say it, but some of you guys, I'm just let the information speak for itself. So without any further,
that's right. Hey, y'all, hit that like button. All right, we're gonna get right into it, y'all. Now, throughout the duration of this broadcast, I will be telling you guys to rewind. As soon as you come in, if you get here late, I'm gonna tell you to rewind. Why? Because we're dropping bombs all through the presentation. So don't get upset if you hear me redundantly telling you, if you just came in, you better rewind it from the beginning. All right. So let's get right into it. Why we stop. Oh, I want to make this mention too. The last time we dropped a nuclear bomb, we came out and we were upset because there were people in the comments being upset. Moderators, allow them to show, spit their poison and show their fangs and show their horns, as long as it's not too bad. All right, let them do that. And then, we're just going to lead with love and show love back to them. We're going to bless those who curse us. So we're not going to entertain the negativity in the comments. Also, too, everybody asks us, they don't ask us, but we're not interested in debating this topic. Now, will we ever turn down a challenge? Absolutely not. Will anybody ever challenge us? Absolutely not. So we're in a conundrum right there, but we are just going to present the information. All right.
yeah,
So
we're not inviting a debate with this, but we're certainly not turning one down either. We're just presenting the information, and whatever comes with it is what comes with it.
right. All right. So let me focus. I'm going to turn the comments off on my section and focus on the presentation. All right, why we stopped calling Jesus YAHAWASHI and what changed our mind. Let's address this first and foremost. All right. We took the bag. This is what they're saying now. We took a bag from the CIA to stop teaching the fake made up Hebrew. With all due respect, that's just what it is. Some say, no, it's a dialect. We can prove it's a dialect. It is a modern invention and feudal reconstruction. It's always been spurious and dubious, even within the eternal organization of One West. So I want to show you guys something, because I want everybody to keep the same energy. The government said, hey, the Bible doesn't tell you need to know Hebrew to get saved. So, I mean, what incentive is there? But look at this. They said the same thing about Bishop Nathaniel when he dropped the Lashawan Qadash. They said the same thing. Remember, his name was not Nathaniel Allah. Nathaniel Allah. That's how you say it in the Lashawan Qadash. But now His name is Nathaniel, and it's been that way for some decades. Let's play this clip.
So, a few vagabonds said a few years ago that we made a deal with the Illuminati. The deal was that we were not allowed to use the name of God in Hebrew.
In Hebrew, same thing they're saying about us.
As taught to us by the original One West. It was a contract. We wrote this contract, signed it. Okay. Have we ever said that the Lord did not give Moses the name YAHAWASHI, Yahweh, the name Yahweh, or YAHWASHI, yeah, whatever? Have we ever said that? So, and I'm like, I just get bamboozled. It rocks my world when I see these stupid idiots. Yeah, he made a deal with the Illuminati not to say the name Yahweh. Oh, I just said it. Oh, let me know if the black vans pull outside there and coming to get me. A black helicopter's coming to get me now. Throw a bag over my head, throw me in the back of a cab.
You see, that's how you guys sound. Like, they're going to say the same thing with us. Oh my goodness, the CIA came and now they can't say YAHAWASHI. Listen, YAHAWASHI, 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 YAHAWASHI.
You guys want us to go in the bathroom and turn the lights off and say it in the mirror 3 times, like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice? Is that what you guys want? I'm gonna just say this: if you actually, because there are people out there who are genuine and they're confused, and a lot of them are hurt, and they're, you know what? I don't know. Did these brothers sell out? First of all, I never would. But if I did, how bad does that sound? If I was to sell out, do you think I'd be arguing with you guys on the internet? I'd be in Caicos with the damn cucumber eyelid thing, getting a back massage. You understand? I wouldn't be on the internet engaging with people who hate me. Why would I do that? What's the point?
Right. So what would be the incentive of the CIA or the Illuminati saying, don't teach this modern invention of Hebrew that even one Westers believe to be questionable? Knowing the correct Hebrew is not a salvific issue. You can still make it to the kingdom without knowing proper Hebrew. So let's stop with the conspiracy madness because you just want to reject the evidence that's right in front of your face. This is what we do. Oh my God, I don't want to listen to this because it's going to change my format, the way I was thinking and what I was taught. It's going to undo my indoctrination. I'd rather reject it and say the Illuminati came, that Jeff Bezos came to his side. Let's keep going. What do they all have in common, everybody? What do they all have in common? They don't believe in the Lashawan Qadash, Bishop Nathaniel, Ron Dalton from Hebrews to Negroes, Dr. Divine Prospect, and our brother Zion Lex.
Just to name a few.
Just to name a few. Dante Fortson.
Yep.
Dante Fortson. So we're not the only ones who are smart enough to understand that the LQ is a modern invention and not biblical. This is Bishop Nathaniel right here from the early 90s. He used to teach the LQ.
In Matthew 121, where it said Jesus, it said Yahshua. The Father's name, the sound of the Father's name is not in that. Yahshua means he saves. When we went to Acts 7 and 45, the scholars translated the name Jesus YAHAWASHI, just like in Hebrews 4 and 8.
So, as you can see, he used to teach the LQ. He doesn't anymore. He realized it's not biblical. Our decision is not based off of Bishop Nathaniel. Let me rewind that for somebody who just made the comment. Our position is not based on Bishop Nathaniel and IUIC's position. I'm just showing you that even within One West, so-called Black Hebrew Israelites, it is admitted and professed that the LQ, Lashawan Qadash, is not biblical.
Do not go around. Now, I hear brothers use the term, but you're going to get caught out there when you say you're a Hebrew Israelite, and they say, so that means you speak Hebrew. Then they give you the test. Right. and you hear crickets because they ask you to use it in a sentence. They'll say, say in Hebrew, my socks are green. And then you hear crickets like, I didn't memorize those words. You look very foolish out there. Right. It wasn't on our test. Because when we were in school learning Hebrew, we managed to memorize the Lord's Prayer, Psalms 121, Psalms 23, the 10 Commandments. We memorized that. If you were to ask us anything outside of that, we'd be like,
Yep.
And that's the same with all these quote unquote Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters.
Yeah, let me say this too. And it's you know, everyone might try to look at this as if it's a shot, but it's not. It's just the truth. You know, I've been in the community for 11 years. And for example, the first organization I was with when I was with ISUPK, two things I want to make mention of. One, on the officer's test, I'm not going to give all the details away of the test that they give, but you have to know Lashawan Qadash. You have to know certain names like the 12 tribes of Israel. How do you spell it in ancient Hebrew? And then basically that and some other things. That and the fact that they have Hebrew classes, I think at least a few times a week. Not a single person in ISUPK knows how to speak Lashawan Qadash fluently. Not a single person in the history of the human race knows how to speak Lashawan Qadash fluently, will ever learn to speak Lashawan Qadash fluently, because it's not a real language to be able to learn to speak fluently.
And I want to say this too. We're not saying, because Bishop Nathaniel was saying the Lashawan Qadash is not biblical. He's correct there. But he's saying we don't know the name of the Father and the Son. I don't agree with that. All right. So I'm just proving a point that we're not the only ones who came to be smart. Now let's address the thumbnail, then start the lesson.
I wanted to say, my bad.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to finish that last thing. I want you guys to seriously, and this is not an attack on anybody, and we're getting ready to say that. This is not us trying to say, oh, we're so smart. And because, I taught the LQ, I guess, to a certain extent for years. I believed in it, and it's because we were taught wrong by people who were taught wrong. I don't think their intentions were wrong, but it's just incorrect, and so we have to address it. But ask yourself this, everybody. Can you think of any language on the planet Earth where there's not a single person who can speak it fluently? Seriously, even like, for example, Latin, the language Latin. People don't speak Latin no more. The only people who speak Latin are people in the Roman Catholic Church. But there are still people who can at least speak it, at least, several dozen. There's literally not one, not a single human being alive who can speak Lashawan Qadash fluently.
Because you can't speak something fluently that's made up, that has no rules or principles in the grammar. You just can't. Ask somebody what's the rules and grammar of Lashawan Qadash.
They don't know.
Just ask them that. So I want to address the thumbnail. This was AI generated. We're not saying he was being called Jesus 2,000 years ago. Jesus is a modern Greek English transliteration, all right? But you can reverse engineer it and get to the Messiah's true name that he was called 2,000 years ago, all right? I just want to make that clear. So let's start this lesson with clarity and respect, all right? We're not here to offend anyone, even though the truth hurts. We're not here to mock, belittle, or attack. What we're about to present is simply our current position based on what we've been able to study, verify, and support with scholarly evidence. And when I say scholars, I know you guys immediately think about white people, which is sad. We have to be honest up front. We once taught and repeated things that we could not actually prove, even with doctrine, not just the language, with the doctrine too. We passed along ideas because they were commonly accepted around us. I heard an elder tell me, an elder tell me, if you have to teach what's popular in Israel. And if you go against what's popular, then you're ridiculed and scrutinized. So we taught what was commonly accepted. We passed it down, not because we had personally tested it. That's on us. That's our fault for not being like the Church of Berea and fact checking this and saying, I know my elder told me this is what it means, but let me go prove it myself.
Yeah.
So
That's
this isn't coming from a place of pride. It's coming from correction. You was gonna say something?
Yeah, we're putting the PDF to this presentation in
Oh, the PDF to the presentation is in the description box.
yeah, and that's
The free
important.
link, yeah, the free link is in the description box. Excuse me, I forgot. I'm gonna pin it up to the top too. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's important because again, everybody, some of you guys might ask reasonable questions such as, "Well, how did you guys not know this?" Well, think about it from this perspective. You know, I came into the truth, you know, when I was 16 years old. And so when I'm seeing all these brothers, I never seen, you know, black men with this level of intelligence, not a bunch of them at least. And you know, teaching who we are and you know what we need to do to please God, things of that nature. So I don't think, you know, and I still don't think to this day that they have any ill intentions behind that. I don't think they have a reason why they would lie to me. And so because of that, you kind of are hesitant to ask questions because you don't want to seem as if you're trying to buck up or be, I guess the word obstinate. But you have to be like priest just said, like the Church of Berea. There should be no problem with asking as many questions as you need to ask. And you should take heed and beware of anybody that would get upset at you for asking basic questions, which is why we gave you guys the link to everything that we put out so you guys can fact check this for yourself and know it to be true, not just because we said it, but because you know it to be true.
And we'll give you a link to join the chat too. And test us and challenge us in real time. All right. So now let's continue. This lesson about the name YAHAWASHI and more broadly, this lesson is about the name of YAHAWASHI and more broadly, what's often called Lashawan Qadash, which we'll call LQ in certain circles. Our goal is to examine whether these things can be demonstrated with real linguistic and historical evidence, or whether they are traditions that have been repeated so long they're assumed to be true, even though this LQ language has only been around since the 40s, maybe the 50s, maybe the 60s, from what the data records. We're going to show you guys the first person ever to speak Lashawan Qadash audibly, right? So before we go any further, we want to ask you to ask yourself one simple question. All right, let's not turn this into a cult against Hassad and priests.
Or do it. We will be blessed by God. Blessed are you when men shall revile you. Revile us, and I will receive more blessings.
Ask yourself, can I actually prove what I teach? Oh, no, you're in the chat. Ask it. We're taking all smoke. Ain't no respect to persons. So ask yourself, can I actually prove what I teach? Or have I just inherited it? Ask yourself that. Can you prove that Lashawan Qadash is biblical?
And then I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I wanted to let you finish, but I wanted to make a point after every thing you was going to say.
Not with emotion, not with repetition, but with evidence. Because if something is true, it should be able to stand on its own, under scrutiny, under study, and under honest examination. That's why when we bring a doctrine to the community, we have already tested it. And this is why camp leaders are charging us thousands of dollars just to debate it. That's all we're aiming to do here. Lay the information out clearly and let it speak for itself. Go ahead.
Yeah, my favorite question is why? When a little annoying kid, why? And it just leads you down a rabbit hole of different answers and questions. But seriously, ask yourself this, everybody. If you follow the Lashawan Qadash, as I had to ask myself these questions, some time ago. Okay, why can't I prove Lashawan Qadash is true? And the answer you probably will give is something that I gave myself when I was asking these questions. Oh, I'm just not real good and proficient in Hebrew. But there's somebody else who is. And then we saw what happened when, someone like Zion Lex encountered a proposed leader of Lashawan Qadash.
Look at this.
Sorry,
let me tell you.
It's okay.
No. I want to read it. This is going to be a teaching moment real quick. Don't lose your thought, Todd. Look at this comment. Psalms 124:8. Let me show you how idolatrous certain Israelites are. Our help is in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem YAHAWASHI, who made the heaven and the earth. You know what this translates to? Our name is in Yahweh, Our help is in the name of Yahweh, in the name of YAHAWASHI, who made the heavens and the earth. Every time a GMS, because he got to be GMS, sometimes I hear other camps saying that too. They'll see the name of the Lord and they'll translate it as Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi.
Yeah,
it doesn't say Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi there. It says one name there. But this is what we're talking about. This is why we're saying, just ask yourself, do you make any sense? Go ahead.
Yeah, and then so again, if you were to ask yourself, why am I not able to prove Lashawan Qadash? And then you say something like, well, because I'm not proficient in Hebrew. Okay, well then why is no one able to prove Lashawan Qadash? Why? That's the question that you should all ask yourselves. You don't got to ask your camp leader or whatever, but ask yourself that question. Because as it's been abundantly proven by Zion, Lex, and other brothers, and we're going to further prove it tonight, it's just not true. And I refuse to lie to anybody, and I'm going to only tell the truth. And I pray that you guys can take this and do what you will with it.
Today, you'll see the LQ get exposed respectfully again, and then you will know the true name of the Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and who One West ignorantly called Yahawashi. That's the new salute. What's often called Lashawan Qadash today is a modern reconstruction, not a historically attested form of ancient Hebrew. Do you ever ask yourself, why can't I find any scholar, whether Black, Asian, African, Mexican, Chinese, Dirtinese, Japanese, look at these? It's attested nowhere, not even in artifacts and archaeology. It removes vowels, but that comes from a misunderstanding, because ancient Hebrew writing didn't always have marked vowels. True. Yet the language was still spoken with vowels. And this is what I couldn't understand due to indoctrination. It's like when we hear something that goes against with our indoctrination, we plug our ears. We can't hear it. There's Q-tip, there's earplugs in. So let me say that again slowly. Well, the written script of Hebrew doesn't have vowel markers, but the language that was spoken has vowels. We're going to prove that today. Often indicated by consonants acting as vowel carriers. Later systems like the Nakud were added to preserve pronunciation, showing that vowels were always a part of the language, even when they weren't fully written. Watch this. All of the related languages to Hebrew, their consonants act as vowels, which is why there are vowel sounds in those spoken languages. All of the brothers and sisters and cousin languages to Hebrew, very close in proximity to the dialect, Hebrew, Aramaic, Arabic, consonant scripts with vowel hints, the matriz lectionis, Phoenician, earlier, almost no vowel markings, Ugaritic, Akkadian, show vowels explicitly in the writing, but the speech always had vowels, writing lagged behind. So all these related cousins of ours, cousin languages, they had vowels in the spoken language, even though their vowels weren't emphatically or apparent in the written script.
I want
Put a one if you understand that.
Yeah,
we got to teach this like an elementary, rudimentary class.
Yeah, we got to reiterate that, because it would just have to be a number of extreme coincidences in order for LQ to stand up. This is just one. So what you would have to then posit is every language that is related to Hebrew. And when I say every, I'm truly saying every, the main ones, Aramaic, Arabic, Phoenician, Ugaritic, Akkadian, that they all have vowels in their spoken, not in their written, but in how they're spoken. They all do. But somehow Hebrew doesn't. How does that make any sense, you guys? Please tell me how that makes any sense. How does that make any sense? Can someone please linguistically justify that?
Let me say this too. For the brothers in the chat asking what are the names, we are going to demonstrate what the names are. But today we're focusing on YAHAWASHI and why we don't use that name. We're going to show you what the true name is. But what you're not going to do is tell us when to do it. Stick around for the presentation or just download the PDF and you'll get it. We're teaching the class. If you rush me again, your ass is grass. Bars. All right. So moderators, they're not rushing me. Oh, you know what? Get him out of here for good. We want the names now. You ain't dictate nothing, brother. All right. So now let's keep going. Meet the man who created the Lashawan Qadash, Abba Bivens. Meet the man who created the Lashawan Qadash. I bet you any amount of push-ups that no one Westers knew that it was Abba Bivens. I didn't even know it was Abba Bivens. I thought it was High Priest Ariah, but we have proof that it was Abba Bivens. Watch this. Many believe High Priest Ariah founded One West and created the LQ, but we have proof it was Abba Bivens. He's the founder of Lashawan Qadash and One West Israelites, which would be the camps. And guess what? High Priest Ariah and Abba Bivens also taught Gentile salvation. Wow. So here's Abba Bivens. This is the earliest record we have of the Lashawan Qadash, where he explains how Israel means Yasha Allah. The introducing of invoking the God of Islam to the Israelite community.
I'm going to tell you this word Israel. It's say they take you, so let's get started out. Yah means he, started is prince, and all stands for Allah. He's a prince of Allah, a prince of God, if you want to say it in English. And this is what it is. We're princes. God is the king of the earth, and we are the prince. But I'm going to tell you this word Israel. It's say they.
You guys see that? So he's saying, I'm going to tell you this word Israel, Yasha El, and then he says Yah means he, Shar means prince, and El is Allah. He is prince of Allah. This is the first and ever time we hear that El means Allah.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Because now you are inadvertently invoking the God of Israel. The God of Islam.
Yeah. Not only that, I want to ask everyone to ask themselves this. Where did he get this information from?
Yeah, that's the next slide.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Where did he come up with this?
Where did he come up with this? There's no other source for this language system prior to this man. Proof it's made up. The LQ lacks, I want to say this slowly, the LQ lacks unanimous internal verification. What does that mean? Even within One West, the LQ is looked at as spurious and dubious. You got camps like IUIC that'll say, man, that is inauthentic. That's what spurious means. You got other camps or other brothers that'll say it's dubious, meaning it's questionable. I got doubt about it. There's not even unanimous internal verification for it.
Could you guys imagine if imagine if Priest and I said, we came up with a language. We found out that, Japanese was really this. This is how ancient Japanese spoke. Would you have any source on it? No. But Yakuza is really, Yakabakasha-za. You know what I mean? There's no evidence for it. What would you guys think about us? You think we're charlatans. You think we're liars. Now, I'm not calling Elder Bivens a liar and a charlatan. I don't know the intentions behind what he said, but I know it's false.
Well, somebody said the Arabs borrowed the word Allah from Aramaic. The way you say God in Aramaic in the Syriac script is not Allah. We're going to prove that. Watch this. Let us say this from the beginning so there's no confusion. We're not saying we're linguistic scholars. Why? Because you guys can come to the same conclusion by just researching for one day, for a couple of hours. We don't claim to be one, but here's the key point. You don't have to be a scholar to verify something that can be tested with real evidence. In fact, when you look at the actual scholarship, whether from mainstream experts or even Israelite scholars like Divine Prospect, our brother Jediah, and our brother Zion Legs, there is agreement on how Hebrew names are preserved and transmitted across languages, and that YAHAWASHI is a modern invention that gives us a solid foundation to work from. So what we're going to do, all right, here goes the fun part, y'all. Here goes the fun part. They're asking, what's the name? What's the name? How can you prove vowel markers? Okay.
Don't even, who cares? It doesn't, it means.
All right. Yeah. So what are we going to do? we're going to take a very simple, testable approach. We're going to follow Hebrew names as they move into other ancient languages to prove what the name of the Messiah is. All right? Here's why that matters. When a name moves from one language to another, it doesn't keep the same spelling, but it keeps a consistent sound pattern.
Yep.
That process is called transliteration. A transliteration is when you take a word from one language and you spell it in another alphabet so it sounds the same. And guess what, everyone? Transliteration proves vowel sounds existed.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. For example, in Japanese, the way you say hamburger is hamburger because they transliterate hamburger from English into Japanese. Hamburger. That's what it means. That's an example of transliteration. You can clearly see the sound. While it's not the exact same, you can see where it gets its inspiration from. So you get where the sounds come from and how the word originally sounded.
So if a name is truly Hebrew, we should be able to track it from Hebrew into the Aramaic, because we're going to be dealing with ancient sources, biblical sources. We should be able to track it from Hebrew, the way it's transliterated or sounded into the Peshitta, the way it's transliterated or sounds into the Greek Septuagint, the way it's transliterated and sounded out in the Latin Vulgate. All of these predate the Nakud system when vowel markers actually came into written form. And the core sounds should remain consistent across those languages. That gives us a way to test claims. Are we going to hear the sound YAHAWASHI in these other languages? No, we're absolutely not going to. Watch this. If we don't see it, then we have to ask ourselves a question. Where did the name come from? And we're not going to stop there. We're going to take other commonly used Lashawan Qadash words and run them through the same system, the same test, and seeing whether those sounds line up with real Hebrew and how those words actually appear when preserved historically. Just the evidence and verification, right? So now let me explain to you guys translation versus transliteration, because this is what a lot of Israelites may not know. Translation and transliteration. All right. Before we go any further, we need to clearly define the difference between a translation and transliteration, because this is the foundation of the whole lesson. If you don't get anything, just get this and debunk this. Remember, if you want to defend what you believe the gospel, you have to listen to our position before we show up. No. A translation is when you take a word from one language and give its meaning in another language. A transliteration is when you take a word from one language and you rewrite it in another alphabet so that the sound is carried over as closely as possible. So the easiest way to remember it is this: translation, the meaning is kept. Transliteration, the sound is kept. And guess what, everybody? We have the Messiah's name in Hebrew, and we're going to see how they transliterated it into the Peshitta, into the Greek Septuagint, into the Codex Sinaiticus, into the Latin Vulgate, all ancient manuscripts that would keep the same sound. And guess what, y'all? It's nothing remotely even close to YAHAWASHI. For example, if I take the Hebrew word shalom, the translation means peace, but the transliteration is shalom. Why? Because peace tells you what the word means, while shalom tries to preserve how the word sounds. That distinction matters because names are almost always transliterated, not translated. Who knows what the name of the Messiah means? Who knows what the name of the Messiah means? What does the name of the Messiah mean? he saves. You could put he is salvation or he delivers. It's kind of similar, right? But if these other languages translated his name, then they would have put and he is saved was on the cross, and this is what he said. Or he is salvation said to Peter, and he is salvation was walking down Bethlehem Avenue. And he is salvation died for our sins and were covered in his blood. No, that's disrespectful. You don't translate somebody's name. You transliterate the name.
Right.
You understand that? So let's keep going. You normally don't translate a name by its meaning. You carry the sound into another language. That means if someone is claiming that a certain form is the Hebrew name of the Messiah, that claim can be tested. How? By looking at how Hebrew names were transliterated into other ancient languages. If the claimed Hebrew name YAHAWASHI were real, then when it passes into Aramaic, Greek, and Latin or other recorded languages, we should still be able to recognize its core sound pattern. The spelling changes. Yes, the spelling changes because each language has different letters and sound limits, but the underlying sound should still be traceable. So, this experiment that we're getting ready to do, this is a fun experiment. We're not asking what the name means. We're asking what sound does the name preserve across languages? That is what transliterations help us to test. And once we apply that same test, not only on the name of the Messiah, but to other so-called Lashawan Qadash words, we can see whether these forms are rooted in actual historical language transmission or whether they are later inventions repeated by traditions. This means the sound of a name will sound the same any language it transliterated from or to. This is especially true with Hebrew and Aramaic. Somebody tell me why. Why is this especially true with Hebrew and Aramaic?
I'll give another example. In well, I don't want to at this point. I don't know if I want to give some of y'all my government name. I'll just use the word Michael. In English, you have the word Michael, of course, which comes from the Hebrew word Mikael. But in Japanese, you know how you would say someone's name Michael? Maikeru. Doesn't translate into Michael like who is like God. It transliterates. So you carry the sound of the name into the course, the language that you're transliterating it into.
Right.
So
my bad. I'm saying it's my brother King's podcast and also Let's Talk Bible, exactly. Son of Mary, sister Shemitic languages. So we should see the same sound. If it's YAHAWASHI, we should see that in the Peshitta. And remember, the Peshitta, it was composed before vowel points. But some of the online manuscripts, you're going to see what vowel points in it. We're going to strip the vowel points and just deal with the consonants. Watch this, y'all. While there are no vowels in the ancient written script, when the language was spoken, they used vowel sounds. That's going to be proven. I want everybody who's watching to understand. Our brothers at One West don't believe that there's vowels. There's only one vowel. This is what they say. There's only one vowel in ancient Paleo Hebrew, yet they say YAHAWASHI at the end of YAHAWASHI. Why are we playing games?
I guess they say two, then I guess A and I.
Yeah, okay. So there's two vowels. First, they say there's no vowels. We don't see any vowels. And then they speak it with vowels. And then they add another vowel at the end of his name. Showing consonants. So the fact that it's not written in the script, true. But you hear it when it's spoken. This shows that consonants are like alphabets, basically letters, can act as vowels even without vowels being present in the script. Transliterations prove this. A transliteration, if we hear a name in Hebrew being transliterated into another language and we hear the E sound, that means there was a vowel in Hebrew because it's taking the same sound. Everybody get that? transliterations prove that there's vowel sounds if we see a Hebrew name being translated into Aramaic and it gives the E sound. Everybody understand that? Well, let's continue. Transliteration shows that Hebrew names were actually spoken with vowels, even if the writing systems didn't always mark them. When names move from Hebrew into languages like Greek or Syriac, those languages have to write the vowel sounds because they can't pronounce words without them. That means the vowels weren't invented later. Remember, all these manuscripts we're using is before the vowel points, it's called the Nakud, came out in 600 AD. We're using manuscripts earlier than that to prove transliterations and how these names sounded. They were already being spoken, and other languages simply recorded what people were saying. So if early Hebrew writing looks mostly consonantal, the transliterations preserve the real pronunciation, proving vowels were always a part of the language. We'll prove this using name transliterations from almost 1,000 years before written vowels in the Hebrew script. So now, Hebrew developed over time. You guys are going to want to get your notepads out and make sure you download this PDF. Make sure you download the PDF. Hebrew developed over time through recognizable stages. It begins with early Northwest Semitic writing, often called the Proto-Canaanite. Aren't you guys Hebrew Israelites? You want to know how your language was developed and how it evolved? Which evolved into the Phoenician script. From that came the Paleo-Hebrew, which would be the crux of the argument, used in ancient Israel before the exile. After the exile, Jews adopted the Aramaic square box script, which became standard for writing Hebrew. Later, the Masoretes added the Nakud, which are the vowel points, to that script to preserve pronunciation, giving us the form of Hebrew text commonly used today, right? Here's the Proto-Sinaitic script. No written vowels. This is from about, let's just say 1800 circa. This stage is often called Proto-Sinaitic, but it's essentially early Proto-Canaanite. You would call it the pictograph script or whatever. This is likely the first alphabet ever. Each symbol representing a consonant sound. This is developed, what came next is developed Proto-Canaanite script from about 1500 to 1200 BC, no written vowels. We all agree with that. That's fine. This is the Phoenician script, about 1200 to 1000 BC. I put 100 BC, 1000 BC, typo. No written vowels. The Paleo-Hebrew script, 1000 BC to about 600 BC. So like somebody put in the chat, evolved or you're not blocked. I see your, so like somebody put in the chat, evolved or influence. Good question. So as we see the Paleo-Hebrew, it stops being the dominant script in about 600 BC, right when we were invaded and taken into captivity by the Babylonians. Then we see the square script, someone called the Assyrian script. This is Hebrew, but it will be spoken with an Aramaic dialect. This was dominant from 600 BC to 600 AD, no written vowels. But let me tell you something. Watch this, y'all. Let me do an experiment. For the Hebrew Israelites who are of One West, who believe in the Lashawan Qadash, what would you call this script that we're looking at right now? Watch this, y'all. And sadly, I would have said this too, and it's embarrassing and I want to vomit. For the Israelites that still believe in Lashawan Qadash, what script are we looking at? What is this we're looking at right now?
Yeah, what language is that on the screen? Ding, ding, ding. Someone said, well, not ding, not ding, 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 like you're correct. You're correct in their incorrectness. They would say that's Yiddish, that we're looking at Yiddish, but it's not. That's
oh my God. Yeah, it's just horrible. And Mac Ruler, I appreciate you for participating. Did you call me yesterday, Mac Ruler? But most One West Israelites, sad sadly would say, oh, this is Yiddish. Now, I want you guys to understand something. Yiddish is a language, not a script. Okay? Yiddish is a language, not a script. So, that's your first flaw. Second of all, everybody, this is a script that is this same script is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yiddish didn't come about the language until 1000 AD. So this script predates the Yiddish language by 1000 years. And One West is, oh God, I'm so glad I'm not One West. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, but I am not One West. So this is what they would say. Now watch this, y'all. This same script is the script that YAHAWASHI, who they call YAHAWASHI, this is the same script YAHAWASHI used. This is the same script the Messiah used. So you would be saying the Messiah was speaking Yiddish. Yeah, how dumb you sound when you do that. Watch.
You sound uninformed because a lot of you guys, I'm not going to say you're not.
My bad.
You just don't know. Like I used to say, well, yeah, I would have said the same thing. Yeah, it's Yiddish. I wouldn't even say ignorant. It is a level of ignorance, but it's just you don't know. You have no idea what you're talking about, just as I had no idea what I was talking about.
So there's no jots and tittles in the Paleo Hebrew. Yet the Messiah says in Matthew 5:18, for truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass, not the smallest letter, jot in the KJV, or a stroke, tittle in the KJV, shall pass from the law till all be fulfilled. This is what you see on the screen is a jot or tittle. You're not going to find any jots or tittles in the Paleo Hebrew. And these are not vowel markers. These are just the way the script is written. You're not going to find this in the Paleo Hebrew. There's an example on the screen. So Christ, the Hebrew script that is circulating during Christ's time in which Christ would have spoke is the square script. You understand that? This is the square box script, as they call it, right here. This is what he's talking about. Drop a bomb, y'all. Drop a bomb. Now watch this. Here's the same square script with written vowels, but this didn't come until 600 AD and 1000 AD. So even, let me tell you guys something. One West Black Israelites, they'll even say this script right here is Yiddish, even though this is before Yiddish.
Well,
this is the square script with the Nakud added, which is diacritic marks, Tiberian Hebrew. This is in use today. So One West Black Israelites will say that even this right here, this script is Yiddish. They don't know what they're talking about. This is just an absolute fact. This is objectively true. When I say objectively true, I'll bet my salvation on it. It's objectively true.
It's just true. And I would encourage everyone that's listening to go fact check us. I'm telling you, like, this is someone who I was young and I got immersed into this. And I'm flat telling you what I was taught. And then unfortunately, in turn, taught others is anytime you see the little dots and stuff, oh, that's Yiddish, man. Yeah, that's bugged out, man. It's goddamn Yiddish, man. That's what the people over there speak, man. No information. There's no scholarship. There's no, hey, is there a source on that? There's no nothing, but it's just rhetoric. And that becomes very dangerous because then you get into an echo chamber of rhetoric and no information.
Right. So this script right here was developed 600 AD to 1000 AD. What the Masoretes did was added vowel markers so people would understand how to use the vowels who didn't understand the language. All right. Now this is in use until this day. All right. So all different scripts. I want you guys to understand this. These are all different scripts, but the same language. All different scripts, but the same language. It's just like English and cursive. Two different scripts. English is a script. Cursive is a script, but it's the same language.
That's a very important thing that we just said. Now, someone might say, well, there's the same. Well, no, they're not the same. In that you have certain characters that are lowercase or capitalized in cursive that look completely different than their, regular English respective characters. So just to reiterate what Priest just said, it's the same language. English, and whether it's the English that we use now versus cursive, it's all the same language, but different. The word just escaped. Different script. Sorry.
So now watch this, y'all. Here goes the bomb. Yiddish is not a script. What they do is they use Hebrew scripts, and you see the words under them. They create their own vernacular, their own dialect, their own language based off of Hebrew script. The Yiddish is not a script. It's a Jewish convert language that developed in Europe 1000 AD. We're going 1000 years even prior to this. It's mainly based on German, mixed with some Hebrew and other influences, and written using Hebrew letters. It's not the original ancient Hebrew of the Bible. Our sources are 1000 years earlier than this. Okay? Write that down. I don't want you to look stupid like I used to.
Like and share the video too. We got about 450 in here. Let's try to get to 500. Make sure y'all like and share the video. It'll definitely help. And shout out
There
to
go
my
the Elder Jedediah.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Elder Jedediah in the building.
That's
watch
a great point. My bad. He just made a great point too. He said it's just like Roman numerals and modern numerals. They are the same numbers, but the script is not the same. I think that's what he meant to say.
No,
like
but
you have
the script is the same.
The V being a 5, and then you have the number 5, like we're familiar with. The same thing, but just a different.
No, the script is the same. Same script. Is it the same script?
No, it's no. The 5, like the
different
V.
Script. Okay, different script. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, that's what he meant to say.
Typo. So now here's the fun part, y'all. Put them party hats in the chat. Now let's demonstrate transliterations disprove the LQ. I'm so glad we got almost 500 people in here at this point. Do not rewind. Rewind later, because we just exposed a lot of things. But stay right here, right now. Do not rewind. Let's prove and demonstrate how transliterations disprove the Lashawan Qadash. Think about it like this. Now, what is this on my right, y'all? What is this on my right? You got to be an 80s baby to know this, or you got to be early 90s to know this, my nigga. People always pose the argument, we didn't have a tape recorder or audio recorders back then, so how can we know the exact pronunciation? Great. Hey, listen, great argument. Great point. Somebody said he still got one. That's probably worth at least a Band-Aid right now. So, well, listen, y'all. Transliterations are the closest thing we have to audio recorders.
Yep.
Transliterations are the closest thing we have to an audio recording of how the name sounded. You understand that? Watch how we prove that. Through transliterations, Christ proves Hebrew and Aramaic have vowel sounds. And listen, watch how Christ kills 2 birds with 1 stone. And he proves that the way you say God in Hebrew is El, not Allah, as LQ Israelites unknowingly invoke the God of Islam.
Yeah, we're not saying, someone might look at that as a jab or an attack. Like, you guys are saying, what are you trying to say? We worship Allah, we're idolaters? No, we're not saying that. What we're saying is unknowingly or unbeknownst to you, by using this incorrect vocalization of Hebrew, you're unbeknownst to yourself and others calling on the God of Islam as opposed to the true God of the Bible. This is important.
Now watch this. This is a kill. He just killed 2 birds. Matthew 27:46. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He did not say, Allah, Allah. He said, Eli, Eli, This is what they heard him say, and then they translated within the same verse the meaning of what he said. Drop a goddamn bomb.
Yep. Now, I want to ask the chat as well. Now, we're reading this in English, of course, but this was, now, someone could say, Matthew was originally written in Hebrew. I won't, argue that. The point is the oldest ones that we have are written in Greek. So when we have, and about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice saying, and then it says, that is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's all in Greek. Why is it that Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani? What language is that? What language is that, everybody in the chat? What language are they writing? Is Matthew rather writing in his gospel? He's writing Hebrew. The vocalization of it.
Right.
Why is he writing the vocalization of it? Because it's the vocalization.
Well, no. He wrote it in Greek. Well, no, the original Matthew is Hebrew, yes, but the Matthew we have now, you're going to see these words in Greek, but it tells you that these Greek words are a transliteration. It tells you this in the Hebrew. I'm sorry, in the Greek. Look what it says in the Blue Letter Bible. This is a Hebrew transliterated word. Hebrew transliterated word. It's a Hebrew word that has been carried over into Greek text by sound, not translated. So when you look at the Blue Letter Bible, it says speech. What speech was he speaking according to Blue Letter Bible? Hebrew. It's Hebrew transliterated. So when we look at what it says in the Greek equivalent says Eli. Eli. Not only that, this is a phonetic rendering. Basically how the words sounded when Jesus Christ spoke them, not a translated sentence originally written in Greek. Jesus was speaking Hebrew here. So the gospel writer, traditionally Matthew, when he wrote it in Greek, or his scribes, whatever, that's not the argument. But instead of translating the phrase right away, he recorded the sounds of the original words using Greek letters. That's why it looks unusual when you see it in the Greek. But when you translate that Greek, it literally says Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That's what they heard in Hebrew. That's what they wrote down in Greek. You're hearing it in Hebrew. They're writing it down in Greek. Right after that, the text tells you what it means. My God, why have you forsaken me? It's like someone quoting a foreign phrase exactly as it sounded, then explaining what it means right after. Matthew is preserving the actual words Jesus cried out and also the meaning of it. Put a 1 if you understand that. And that's been there this whole time. That's been there this whole time. So he proves how you say God in Hebrew, and he proves that there's vowels spoken in the language. One West got to repent today. Well, the biggest camp in One West already dropped the Lashawan Qadash, but the rest of y'all need to as well.
Yeah, we're not saying you're in sin either. We're just saying just change a couple things.
Now look at Mark. So our twin sister language, the Aramaic, also, it doesn't say Allah or anything close for God with the transliteration. Remember, these are transliterations. That means it's like an audio recording, a tape recorder. The Aramaic, Mark 15 has the Messiah speaking this phrase in Aramaic, and we get to disprove God means Allah and prove there's vowel sounds in the Aramaic. Mark 15 and 34. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Elohi, Elohi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? IUIC said this is not biblical, that the Lashawan Qadash is not biblical. Now look at the Blue Letter Bible. Hebrew Israelites love the Blue Letter Bible, but they hate the white man and hate his languages. So look at what it's going to prove. This is an Aramaic transliterated word. The word comes from Aramaic, not Greek. It's written in Greek letters by sound. That means the Greek letters are giving us the sound of what he said in Aramaic, and it's Elohi, Elohi. Wow. It's not Allahi. It's not Aliyah. It's not anything remotely close to that. It's an Aramaic word that was spoken, then written in Greek text by sound, and it doesn't change like normal Greek words. That's transliteration. The same with Emmanuel. Wow. Let me watch this, y'all. Let's get the chat involved here. When I say Emmanuel, what language am I speaking? Emmanuel. Emmanuel. What language am I speaking when I say Emmanuel? Watch this trick bag. When I say Emmanuel, if I just walked around all day saying Emmanuel, 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 what language am I speaking? There you go. Hebrew, 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 Hebrew. No, it's not English. Emmanuel is not an English word. Emmanuel is a Hebrew word. Emmanuel, Emmanuel, Emmanuel. We find it all the way back in Isaiah before we even diffuse with the Aramaic language. Emmanuel, Emmanuel, Emmanuel. Now, why does this matter? How does this disprove the Lashawan Qadash? Because the Lashawan Qadash says there's no vowels for one, and we see L, we see the L sound, and then they also say the way you say God is Allah. This is a transliterated Hebrew name. It means God is with us. And they say no U sound too. Damn. So many birds getting stepped on with one stone, with one boot. So many birds getting stepped on with one boot. This transliterated name actually destroys the Lashawan Qadash on how to pronounce God, on how to also prove that there's vowels in the biblical Hebrew when you speak it. So we know God is in the name because Matthew 1:23 says it means God with us. Well, where's Allah in the name Emmanuel? It's not, but El is in there. Why? Because that's how you say God in the biblical Hebrew. El. You want to call the Most High by the word God in the Hebrew? You call him El. That's where you get Emmanuel. Matthew 1:23. Behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. It's not Emmanuela. We don't see that. Abaya is not a real name.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was going to say something. That's not real quick. Abaya, to the brother Abaya from Inside the Nation. That's not a shot on you at all. Just in case you're listening to this on the post recording, there is some lost brother who we love very much, who we hope repents, and all he has to say is a brilliant response, which is simply, "This is madness." You guys. That's what you're going to be encountered with. You're not going to be encountered with, here's how priests and Hassad are wrong, and they're going to go into lexicology and all the various ways in how we're wrong. They're going to just say, F those guys. I hate those guys.
We got a surprise for you. I want you guys to watch to the end. We haven't even revealed what the Messiah's true biblical name is yet. We're just deconstructing this modern feudal reconstruction called Lashawan Qadash. Now, I want to answer this question real quick. No, they say that God means Allah, the One West Israelites who practice Lashawan Qadash, unknowingly, inadvertently invoking the God of Islam when they call Allah. All right, so now let's keep going. Look at this. Further proven, Emmanuel is a Hebrew word. This is how you say Emmanuel in the Greek. And you break it down. This is how the letters are broken down. It's a Greek transliteration of Hebrew. All scholars agree, meaning God with us, where Greek preserves the consonant structure but adapts the vowels to its own sound system. So this is the words that make Emmanuel up in the Greek. And then look what it says. M, man, U, L. That's what it says. Emmanuel or Emmanuel. Nothing in here says Emmanuela, Emmanuela, It doesn't say Emmanuel. It says Emmanuel. So that's what they heard in Hebrew. Body bag. Again, these manuscripts that we're going to, everybody, are almost 1,000 years before any Yiddish, before any vowels were actually written in the script, proving the spoken language had vowel sounds. Why am I saying this ad nauseum? Because I'm dealing with black people, and I needed to be talked to like this as well. We learn by repetition, which is why you have the laws in Leviticus. What does Deuteronomy mean, everybody? What does Deuteronomy mean? This is how you know the ancient Israelites were black people. What does Deuteronomy mean? Second law. He gave us all that in Exodus, Leviticus, and then he had to turn around and give it to us again. That's how you deal with black folks. You understand that? So, no, we do not see written vowels in the ancient Hebrew script or alphabet until 600 AD. But the fact that we were speaking vowels show you that those alphabets and consonants acted as vowels. Now, before we give the proper pronunciation of the Messiah's name, we got about 500 people in here. I know you guys are waiting to pray tonight. I know you guys are waiting to pray tonight. I'm gonna give you guys the name so you guys can go to God in prayer, because the Messiah
They're
is
on us to say some ridiculous name, so that they can be like, man, I knew them niggas didn't know what they was talking about.
I'll tell you what, it's not YAHAWASHI, it's not Yahusha either. Okay, it's not YAHAWASHI, it's not Yahusha, it's not Jesus. I'll tell you that. Now, watch this though. Before we even get there, hit that like button. But and it's not Yahosha or Yahusha either. All right. So we're gonna dispel all that. Now, before we give you the proper pronunciation of the Messiah's name, let's show a few Lashawan Qadash words and how they are not ancient or biblical or even real, with testing them through transliteration. Watch this. This is where you get the caskets out. Who's selling caskets? Because you're finna make a lot of money if we were to take this debate. But we don't want to debate. We want to bring this presentation forward to the community. One West Israelites. Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go, Hassan. You got your bulletproof vest. You better protect your neck. Yasha Allah equals Israel, according to One West Hebrew Israelites. Yasha Allah equals Israel, according to One West Hebrew Israelites. He is Prince of the Power. Israelites are invoking the God of Islam, Allah, when they say this word. We just proved El is actually how you pronounce the generic term for God or power in Hebrew. So why did the founder of Lashawan Qadash want to call God Allah? It's Allah's not pronounced like that in the Aramaic Syriac script. Can bet my life on that. Maybe it was because the Black Israelites and the Nation of Islam had a very close relationship during the 50s and the 60s, and they were influenced by that. We can only speculate. But let's continue. Watch this. If Yasharallah were the original form of Israel, you would expect to see the same core sound preserved when the name is carried into other ancient languages. Remember, Yasha Allah is a name of a person. The man Jacob changed his name to Israel. So all names, virtually every time, are transliterated, not translated. It doesn't say, and he's the Prince of the Power, went out to see his brother Esau. No. You transliterate it, you don't translate it. But in early sources that predate the vowel point system, like the Greek Septuagint, the Syriac Peshitta, and the Vulgate, the name consistently appears as forms like Israel, Israel, or Israel, not anything resembling Yashar Allah. That consistency across languages shows the preserved sound pattern, which doesn't match the claimed form. Hassad, can you give me like 30 seconds?
Yeah, that's fine. So again, this is something that we want every single one of y'all to just ask yourselves questions. Why is there no in any of the related languages to Hebrew? We should be able to see them, especially in the ones that are very close in proximity to Hebrew, like, excuse me, Aramaic, or sorry, Arabic, even Amharic, Phoenician, Akkadian. Why is it that when you translate, or rather transliterate, these words into these respective languages, Yasharallah does not appear? Not one time. Why doesn't Yasharallah appear one time? Why doesn't YAHAWASHI appear one time? Not one time. Why is it consistently Yisrael every single time, virtually, or something at least closely relating to it? Yasharallah does not exist in any transliteration because it has to exist first in order for you to transliterate it into something.
Now watch this. I appreciate that. Watch this. Are you done?
No, go ahead.
I'm ready to slam dunk. You ready? Give me the alley hoop.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Bow. In the Hebrew, it's pronounced Yisrael. Now they're gonna say, no, that's Yiddish. That came later. Okay. First of all, we're gonna prove it's pronounced Yisrael, not Yasharallah. And the Strong's Blue Letter actually has it right here. But this also debunks the Yashar Allah, and it also more proof that there's vowels in the spoken language. How do we know that you pronounce Israel like Yisrael in Hebrew and not Yashar Allah? Oh, I'll tell you. Because transliterations act as tape recorders. Let's see how the name sounds when transliterated across multiple languages. Here's the Meneptah Stela, 1200 BC. The script is Egyptian hieroglyphs. Transliterates the sound Yisrael, not Yasha Allah. And with the hieroglyphs, it could have came close to Yasha Allah, but it doesn't. Oh, but how can you read? No, that doesn't mean that. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a linguistic. I'm not a linguist. I'm not a philologist. But I'm going to tell priests and Hakah and all the scholars that agree with this for the last 3,000 years that they're wrong. It's from Armstrong Institute of Biblical Archaeology, and all scholars agree this is a mention of Israel from 3,200 years ago. Even Israelite scholars like Dr. Divine Prospect, he came into the Genesis Varsity Online Academy and presented this information. He said, yes, they're saying Yisrael. Even Zion Lex, he brought this out on his presentation on Inside the Nation Radio. He corroborated and substantiated that it said Yisrael. So what the Meneptah Stela did was took the sound of the Hebrew word Israel and transliterated it into their hieroglyphic language, and the pronunciation is Yisrael, not Yasha Allah. Genesis 32:28, and he said, thy name, listen, that Meneptah Stela, I didn't even need that. That was just like a flinch. You know, like when you flinch during boxing? That was just a flinch. Genesis 32:28. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince has thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed. Wow. So we know God is in the name Israel. That's why, remember, we already substantiated that that God means what in Hebrew? How do you say God in Hebrew? How do you say God in Hebrew? These comments, listen, you guys can scoff all you want, but like try to comment something more like intelligible, something academically challenging. There we go. El. That's how you say God in Hebrew. El. The word Israel has, the translation is God. He has power with God and with men and has prevailed. So we should see El in the name. This is why you get Yisrael. It's not, there's no Allah in there. That's just a fact. Now let's look at the Peshitta. The Peshitta, specifically the Old Testament of the Peshitta, 200 AD, well before the Nakud system or the vowel points being written in the script. This is the Aramaic dialect in the Syriac script of the Old Testament. The Hebrew language's brother, essentially, is the Syriac Bible. The Old Testament was translated directly from Hebrew. Very important. This didn't go from Hebrew to Greek to Syriac. This went from Hebrew to Syriac. Very important. Although the original versions did not contain vowel markers, as this predates the Nakud, which is true, the oldest ones we have do contain vowel markers. See, this is transparency. Your camp leader is going to lie to you. So we're arguing from the Peshitta perspective, but even though the Peshitta predates the vowel system being written in the script, the oldest Peshitta that we have of the New Testament, when you look online, and even if you buy one, you're going to see some of the vowel markers that even the Aramaic adopted, right? So what we'll do is we'll argue from a consonantal from consonants to see if they fit Yisrael or Yasha'Allah. So let's see how it transliterates Genesis. Not necessarily transliterates, but the consonants for Yasha'Allah in the Peshitta. We're going to see, does it match Yisrael or Yasha'Allah? But first, let me explain what consonants are, just so you guys can know. Consonants are the core letters of a word. It's the fixed sounds you make by blocking or shaping airflow, like b, k, sh, m, n. They're hollow. These are hollow sounds. But this is how you can tell what a word sounds like. All right? They're different from vowels, A, E, I, O, U, which are open mouth sounds. So how does this work in Hebrew and Aramaic and all of that? These will be the consonants of how you say Melech, Malak, or Molech. You'll just see the consonants M, L, K. M, L, K. But, so let's keep going. So let me give an analogy, right, in English. Let's start with the consonants, just C and T. K, T, K, T. What all can we spell if we only have the C and T consonants? What all could we spell? What all could we spell? Cat, cot, cut. You can't spell anything other than that. I mean, if you're Crip Mac, you can put a lot of C's in there. But you cannot change the C and T. Only the vowels inside of the consonants can change. But what these guys are doing with the Yasha'Allah, they're doing something like city. They're spelling city with the only consonants available are C and T. You understand that? So another example would be the consonants BK. You can get back, you can get buck, you can get book, but they'll form something like Bicky. They'll add a consonant or they'll take a consonant out. That's not just a pronunciation issue. You're either adding a letter that isn't in the text or you're removing one that is, which changes the word itself. So let me try to explain that in layman terms. In the Hebrew Bible, we have the characters and letters for the Messiah's name. What one West Israelites do who have Lashawan Qadash, they add letters and consonants or take away some. So what they're doing is saying, no, the way the Bible has the letters for the Messiah's name is wrong. We have new letters that should be in the text. Do you guys get what I'm saying? That's what they're doing. Okay, let's continue. So this is the Peshitta, the Genesis 32 and 28 in the Peshitta, the Syriac script. This is the word, it's highlighted or not highlighted, but the red arrow, this is the word for Israel. From the Peshitta, Genesis 32 and 38, let's strip it of the vowel markers. We're only dealing with the consonants. We're not dealing with the vowel marks. We're just dealing with the consonants. So it's not going to give us the full pronunciation, but it will give us the consonantal sound. So look at what it has. Yes, r, yeah, oh. It doesn't, so the consonant skeleton is yes, right, and then you have yeah, L. That's how they're saying God. Remember how the Hebrew says God, El? It's the same with the sister language Aramaic that's having Yel or El as God, because God is in the name of Israel. Now, if someone claims Yasharallah, the Peshitta has the capability, because it has basically the same consonants and sounds as Hebrew. They can say Yasha Allah, but it doesn't. This is the possible consonantal structure for Yasha Allah. It will be Yah. Watch this though, y'all. I'm gonna drop an absolute bomb. Watch this. Wait, I gotta go back. Anybody who says Yasha Allah after this, I have to admit, you gotta just be a zombie. No, because this is what I'm saying, Hassad. This is just absolute proof. In the Peshitta, it doesn't give the but here's the thing, everybody. The Peshitta has a consonant that's it gives the it doesn't give the SH sound when we look at the consonants of Yisrael in the Peshitta. It doesn't give the sh sound. But one West Israelites are saying Israel is Yasha Allah. Look at this, Hassad. If it was Yasha Allah, it would have had this character that has the sh sound, and it would have had the H consonant sound, and it would have ended with an ayin to give the ah.
Yeah, it's over at this point.
It's over at this point. Like, what do we do with this, everybody? Even without the vowel points, the Syriac consonants for Israel are Yisrael. A Yasha Allah reading will require the sh consonant and the H consonant, and both are absent from the text. The sh is missing, and the h is missing. Can we stop for a minute and just say, this is ridiculous? This is ridiculous. If the consonants don't fit, you must acquit. If the consonants don't fit, you must acquit. How in the hell can Yasha Allah be the Hebrew name of Yisrael when a sister cousin transliterated Yisrael and didn't even use the sh sound or the ah sound? It's 2026, y'all. Come on, bro. Now, the Greek Septuagint, Hassad said it's over. It's not over. The Greek Septuagint, this is 200 to 300 BC, translated directly from Hebrew. 72, this is why it's called the LXX. About 70 Israelite scholars translated the Hebrew into the Greek Septuagint. About 200 to 300 BC. From the Hebrew. Very important. They are translating this way before vowel points. Let's see how they audio record how you say Israel. Genesis 32 and 28. It's highlighted in red. This is the word Israel in the Greek Septuagint. Greek and Latin did not need vowels, everybody. I'm going to say this slowly. Greek and Latin didn't need vowel points. They already had vowels at the inception of their language and alphabet. So they preserve how names were actually being sounded out in their time. And this is how you enunciate Israel. It doesn't have the Y sound in the Greek. Their Y's are I's. Or their Y's can also be, oh no, there is no Y, excuse me. So it literally says Israel. What are we talking about? When the Israelite scholars seen the Hebrew word for Israel in the Hebrew, they gave this sound. They sounded it out in Greek alphabet and said, oh, this sounds like, this is how you would say it, sounded out in Greek, Israel, Israel. And to add insult to injury, this what looks like an N is a long E form. Israel. That's how we, our people, transliterated the word Israel from Hebrew with the same sound as it would have been in Hebrew, Israel. God is in the name, so it has to be an L in the name. Put a 1 in the chat if you're tracking. This is easy as 1, 2, 3. Now, of course, 8.5 billion people on the earth already know this and would agree. We have 3,000 years of scholarship and academic on our side from all races. But there's about 20,000 people on the earth that don't know this. And they're called One West Black Israelites. But we love them and we care about each 20,000 souls. If the Greek Septuagint wanted to translate Yasha'Allah, it would have looked like this, everybody. It's possible. It would have had the I for Y. It would have had the Isra El La. It didn't have that. So it would have said something like Isra'Elah, because that's what One West Israelites were saying, Yasha'Allah. It doesn't have the La at the end. It doesn't have the Ra. And the Greek alphabet is capable of approximating Yasha'Allah. It doesn't even come remotely close. Wow. Now, so we see Genesis 32 and 28. Again, this is the Greek Septuagint. So look at the Latin Vulgate. The Latin Vulgate, 400 AD of the Old Testament, translated directly from Hebrew. This is very important that they're translating it directly from Hebrew. This isn't the Latin Vulgate transliterating from Greek, who had just transliterated from Hebrew. This is directly from Hebrew. Jerome translated the Old Testament Latin Vulgate from a Hebrew manuscript. So let's read Genesis 32 and 28 and see how the name Israel carried over into the Latin Vulgate through transliteration, which would be how it actually sounded in Hebrew. Ha! This is damn near like this is damn near like speaking English in 400 AD, which would be the 300s. Genesis 32 and 28, it says Israel. Israel. It doesn't say Isra'Allah. Again, Greek and Latin didn't need vowel points. They already had vowels, so they preserved how the names were actually being sounded in their time. This is the breakdown. Israel. Again, the L sound, because the L sound was in Hebrew. The L sound carried over to Latin because L is how you say God in Hebrew. Now, if it wanted to say Yasha Allah, it would look something like this. Israel Hala or Israhella. That's not there. So if Yasha Allah were the original form of Israel, we would expect to see that sound preserved when the name was carried into other ancient languages. But across the Greek Septuagint, the Syriac Peshitta, and the Latin Vulgate, the name consistently appears as Israel, Israel, or Israel, keeping the same core Yisrael sound. These languages had the ability to represent other vowel patterns, but none of them reflect anything like Yasha Allah, not even remotely close, which shows that form isn't preserved in the historical record. All right. Some more stuff. I'm not taking no shots at nobody. There's a lot of Israelites whose name is Danya Allah. There's a lot of Israelites who use this One West vernacular to say, yeah, my name is Danya Allah. All I'm doing is pointing out names that end with Allah, as Israelites are inadvertently invoking the God of Islam. And I'm just showing you how, for one, this disproves the Lashawan Qadash, and it also proves that there's vowels in the spoken language. Danya Allah. It means what? God is my judge, or God is judge. So God is in the name. Again, we have Israelites invoking the God of Islam, Allah, because they think that's how you say God in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. We already proved the Messiah, when on the cross, called God El. Aramaic says it too, which is the correct name. I'm sorry, which is why the correct name is Daniel. Daniel. More proof of vowels in the spoken language. Daniel. Oh, can we prove that? This is Daniel 1:6. Now, among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Some One West Israelites still use Azariah. Let me tell you how crazy One West is. They'll say Daniel's wrong, but they'll say Hananiah's right and Azariah's right.
Yeah, how? Can they explain that?
You want to harp on that aside?
Yeah, so in Daniel, when the reason why they'll say, well, it'll probably vary per individual who you speak to, why the E is there, Daniel and Mishael. The point being is, how is it that Daniel is transliterated incorrectly? Mishael is transliterated incorrectly, but Hananiah and Azariah are both transliterated correctly? How and why? Interesting.
Now watch this. Watch this, y'all. We're getting ready to have some fun too. We're going into YAHAWASHI in a second. Now watch this. This is how the Hebrew says Daniel is pronounced. You see the pronunciation? Daniel. I agree with that. The lexicon is right here. That's how you pronounce it in Hebrew. Daniel. That's Hebrew. Look at the transliteration. Daniel. They're both right. So even if we strip the Hebrew of the vowel markers here, we still get the consonants. Look, dan, d, n, y, and then you get the L. So there's like a pause there. Daniel, Daniel. The consonants match the pronunciation. I'm gonna show you why Danya Allah doesn't even match the consonants. No, and it's definitely not gonna match the transliterations. Now let's take a look at the Peshitta to see if consonants fit with Danya Allah or Daniel. The title God is in the name, so let's see if we see El for God or Allah for God in the Peshitta. Again, we're not factoring in vowel points at all, just consonants. In the Peshitta, Daniel 1:6, that's the name. We strip it of the vowel markers, and we only use the skeleton of the consonants. You see don, you see d, n, y, and then you see YL at the end, yell. Daniel, that's the core, Daniel. L-Y, because that's how you say God in Hebrew, in Aramaic, and Syriac script is the sister language. So it's going to be virtually the same. You say what?
No, my bad. Go ahead.
Now watch this though. Let's just show you guys something here. If if the Peshitta wanted to transliterate via consonants Danya Allah, they would literally have to add consonants. They would have to add 2, possibly. That will require Dani Yell with the H. Oh yeah, it would. It would have to add 2 with the H and the L for the Allah. Then that would be the skeleton of it right here. That's literally taking away a consonant and adding a consonant. Now the argument isn't even pronunciation. Oh, we don't know pronunciation. One West Israelites are taking letters out of what we know as the Hebrew Bible. Do you guys understand that? They're saying the way it's written in the Bible is wrong. This isn't even a pronunciation argument at this point. They're saying, no, the Bible has to change this consonant and put this consonant. I hope you guys understand that. That means, let me just show you guys what I mean. You see these blue Hebrew writing up top? What One West Israelites of Lashawan Qadash are saying is that, no, the way Daniel wrote this, he needs to take this letter out, put a whole nother letter in, and then add something else. That's not pronunciation. That's them rewriting the Bible. There's no H in there. There's no ending Allah in there. What's the phrase that pays? Now, what's the phrase that pays? If the consonants don't fit, you must acquit. That's going to be the phrase that pays today. Look at Daniel 1:6 in the Greek Septuagint, translated directly from Hebrew. And remember, they don't directly from Hebrew or Aramaic, because, you know, Daniel the oldest is in Aramaic. But either way, this is a direct transliteration. So it's going to keep the same sound of what it would mean in Hebrew or Aramaic. And look at what it says here. You see that word is in red. And this is the breakdown. D, this is equivalent to D, the equivalent to A, the equivalent to N, the equivalent to I, the equivalent to E, the equivalent to L. Can we stop playing games? The Greek alphabet has virtually the exact same, almost the same as the English alphabet. And look at their equivalents. Their equivalents are pronouncing Daniel. Daniel.
Is that a coincidence?
Man,
what are we supposed to do with this information, everyone? For brothers that believe in the Lashawan, what do we do? What do we do with this? Do we just act as if it? Because
here's the way out of this is to say transliterations are wrong.
Everything's wrong. See, that's a problem, though. When you find yourself in a position where everything must be wrong instead of yourself, now you've got to really question if you're a real pursuer of truth. If you can't even consider the fact and possibility that you're wrong. Because we had to admit that we're wrong on several things. Do you think, like, now I don't want to go on a tangent. I want to stick to the information. And I might be trying to be like, appeal to emotion a little bit. But think about this, everybody. What do Priest and I, what do we have to gain from it? Now, you have simpletons out there who genuinely think that we got paid from the federal government. And if you actually think that, God bless your heart. But that clearly isn't the case. So what do we gain from this? You know how much we've lost? You know, I could go on and on and on about how much we've lost in different aspects of our life because we've had to admit that we're wrong. Do you think we like admitting we're wrong just off the dribble? And then what comes with having to admit that you're wrong? So the reason why we're going into this is because it's just true. And either you can be a child and you feel like when you thought a monster was in your room, you just threw a blanket over you and thought, well, I can't see the monster, so it can't see me. And do that and hide from the truth. Or you can get over it, accept it for what it is, and submit to the truth.
That's it. Now remember that a transliteration is simply a way to show how a name is pronounced. I got to talk about this redundant and ad nauseum because I'm dealing with my people. So this means how you pronounce it in another alphabet. It's about representing the sounds of the original word, not changing or adding new consonants like Israelites would have to do. One West Israelites. Now, the Greek language was more than capable of saying Danya Allah, but didn't. The spelling would have to look very different from what we actually have. This is how it would approximate in the Koine Greek. Daniel, Daniahela, or 1 second, or Daniakala. Either way, there's no L sound. There's no Allah at the end. This will be a longer form. We don't see this in the text. H sound required. There's no H sound in what we see in the text. Uh-oh. The Latin Vulgate, transliteration of Daniel from 400 AD. Look at how it pronounces Daniel. 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 Remember, y'all, this is how it would sound when the Latin translators are looking and sounding out the Hebrew word for Daniel. Oh, okay, Daniel. Okay, we're going to write it in Latin as Daniel. Daniel.
Yeah, why don't any of these people who are who are doing these transliterations, why is not a single one of them saying something similar to Daniela? Why? Do they all, throughout all languages, throughout the whole world, they all have this global conspiracy to hide Lashawan Qadash just for some random brother from Harlem, New York, to figure it out in 1948 or whenever the hell he wrote it down or figured it out? That's what we're supposed to do. You think that is more probable than, hey, maybe we were just wrong? Come on, you guys, please.
Now, the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because we're going to run this same test through YAHAWASHI. We're going to see if YAHAWASHI is transliterated into all these ancient languages in these ancient Bibles and see if they have that sound. Then we'll see what the name of the Messiah truly is with the transliteration, which is a audio tape recorder in a way. Now, the Vulgate could have said Danyala, but it didn't. It doesn't. Look at Joel. And this is no shot at anybody.
Let's love to brother Joel, for real.
Shout out to the brother Joel. I hope he changes his name after this.
Joel. Listen, brother. Your name is Joel.
Yeah, your name is not Yahweh Allah. Okay? I'm going to be the first to tell you right now. Your name is not Yahweh Allah. All right? Now, we're going to prove that. I'm focusing right now on names that have Allah in it. Yasha Allah, Danya Allah, Yahweh Allah. They're all invoking the God of Islam unknowingly because they don't know who created the Lashawan Qadash. So we're going to show that this is a fake name, it's made up, and how you actually pronounce the leader of SOT's name in the ancient Hebrew. Okay? And Tawada too for the brother. I said Tawada. Torah. It's gonna take some time for me to get the fake language out. But the brother says 500 people in here. Get the likes up. It's free. That's right. The PDF is free. I spent 100 hours on this PDF. It's not 500 slides like the Gentile salvation. I had scholars proof this presentation. Oh, you guys are in for a bomb. Let's get to we got so many bombs on this. Let's get to the bombs.
I'm halfway dying over here, but I had to be a part of getting this out.
Oh, we should have did Ari Allah too. That's what is it Ari Allah? We should have did that too.
Hey, who?
Okay, so here's another example of the Israelites invoking Allah, the God of Islam, inadvertently, the correct pronunciation is Yoel. More proof of vowels in the spoken language. Yo, the O sound. Watch how we prove this is how you pronounce Joel in Hebrew. Yoel. You get the yo, then you get the L. You got two vowels. So you disprove that God is not Allah, and you show that it's two vowels in the spoken language, even though it's not in the written script. Look at this, y'all. This is the KJV. I don't even need the ancient sources. I don't even need the ancient sources to even debate this or do a class on this. I can use the 1611 KJV and destroy the Lashawan Qadash. The KJV 1611, it doesn't use J's because the J was not in the alphabet yet of the English. So it has EOL. Mind you, the KJV is transliterating from the Masoretic text. This is a transliteration straight from Hebrew. King James commissioned 70 scholars to translate and transliterate from the ancient Hebrew manuscript, and they transliterated the sound EOL when they seen the name Joel. This is EOL 1 and 1. The word of the Lord that came to EOL, the son of Pethuel.
Yeah, people that actually can read Hebrew. I don't want to, let me tone it down. I don't want to be rude, or this is not to be disparaging or anything. People that actually read Hebrew, looked at Hebrew manuscripts, transliterated the word Joel into, well, it wasn't even Joel at the time because there was no J, and they put it as EOL in English. Why did they do that? Why didn't they say it's Yahweh All or Yahweh Allah? Because that's not the accurate transliteration of that. That's a transliteration based off of a dialect of Hebrew called Lashawan Qadash, which most of the people in this audience are older than, or at least old as that utterance.
You see that?
Lashawan Qadash.
Now look, exactly how it sounds in Hebrew. Yoel. The proper pronunciation of Joel in Hebrew is simply Yoel. And that's why the English translators, who were scholars, said, okay, EOL. Because even the English transliterating Hebrew names. So this is how you pronounce it or sound it out in Hebrew, Strong's H3100, simply Yoel. If you break down the consonants, even with the consonants, if we strip the vowel markers and just deal with the consonants, it's Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. That's the skeleton, that's the core. Even without the vowel markers, we see it's Yoel. If it was Yahweh Allah, you would see more consonants, but you don't. What One West is doing is saying, the way Joel wrote this down was wrong. I need to take this Hebrew letter out and put another letter in there. Come on, bro. Come on, buddy.
Gentile doesn't mean Gentile. Daniel doesn't mean Daniel. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys.
Joel in Hebrew is Yoel, ending in L, because God is in his name. The name Yoel. There is no H and no Allah at the end of those consonants in Hebrew. They're not in the text. You would need those consonants for them to be in the text, for this to be the same name, for the pronunciation to be Yahweh Allah, you would need to add more consonants. You would need to add the Allah, and it's not there. No H consonant at all. No H consonant at all. Only 4 consonants total. Now, Yahweh Allah, strip out of the vowels. This is what you would get. We don't see that in the text. Side-by-side comparison. We do not see the way Yahweh Allah would be spelled with Hebrew consonants in the text. You're literally reinventing ancient manuscripts. Ancient Hebrew manuscripts, if you say that was the name. Throw everything away. Now, so let's take a look at the Peshitta. to see if the consonants fit with Yoel or Yahweh Allah. The title God is in the name, so let's see if we see El or if we see Allah for God. We're not factoring in vowel points. Remember that. This is the Peshitta. This is the consonants. We're stripping the consonant. We're stripping the word of the vowel markers. Just only dealing with the consonants. You got the ya, wa, you got the aleph, and then you got the yell. Yahweh. I'm sorry. Yo. This is where the W sound comes from. Yo, El. Yo, El. There's no Yahweh Allah here. That preserves L ending corresponding to the Aleph and the L or L, not an Allah ending. This is how it would look. Something like this, but it doesn't. The construction of the consonants look like what's on your lower left side. The construction of the consonants, if Yahweh Allah was correct, would look like what you see on your right lower side.
Somebody said, where does the W come from? Yeah, where is the W?
Yo El. So the W would come from the Yo El. Yoel. You got a hollow W there. That's the consonants in the Hebrew and the consonants in the Peshitta. But you know what they say, y'all? If the consonants don't fit, you must acquit. The Greek Septuagint transliteration of Joel. You guys already know at this point that it's not going to sound like Yahweh Allah. The Greek transliteration, this is what it looks like right here of Joel 1:1, and it literally means EOL. Exactly what the hell it says in the 1611 KJV. EOL. EOL. In Greek, Joel is, as you see, ending in L, matching Hebrew L, matching the Peshitta's L. There is no Allah and no H sound in the text. Yahweh Allah is not there. It would have looked similar like this in the Greek where you see the two red X's, but it's not there. It's just simply not. The Latin Vulgate, how does it transliterate Joel? Look at Joel 1:1 in the Latin Vulgate. EOL. Can somebody tell me in the chat who's a One West provocateur? Why do all the ancient translations sound out and pronounce the name EOL instead of Yahweh Allah? Can somebody help out? EOL. It has L because that's how you say God in Hebrew, proving it's not Allah and proving that there's vowels. There were vowels. All of this, everybody is proving that there is vowels too in the spoken language, even though it wasn't in the written script, because it's sounding words out, names out in other languages, and we're hearing vowels. Compared to Yahweh Allah, we don't see it. Should I do Captain Tazariak's name? Run that through. All right, here's the moment everybody's been waiting for. So you guys can go pray tonight. We're going to give you guys the name of the Messiah, which is already in the earth. But a lot of people who watch us and listen to us, they trust our scholarship, our academics. They trust our teachings. And so this is going to emphatically prove what the name of the Messiah was when he was walking the earth. I'm gonna tell you guys something too. You guys better respect my Lord and Savior, before I slap a piece of your beard out your face. If the angel told his mama what to name him, I'm gonna show you in the Hebrew, the Aramaic, the Greek, and the Latin, the sound that the angel told her was not remotely close to YAHAWASHI. And also, there's only one place in the whole Bible where Jesus identifies himself by name. and it's nowhere remotely close to YAHAWASHI or even Jesus. So if he identifies himself by this name we're about to reveal, then that's what your black ass should address him by and honor his name, because that's how he even identified himself in the one time in the whole Bible that he identifies himself by name. You understand that? If you want to know how to say Yasha Allah, go back. It's simply Yisrael. If the transliteration don't fit, you must acquit. Now watch this, everybody. You guys ready for a good laugh? This is how One West breaks down YAHAWASHI. This is one of the breakdowns. They say YAHAWASHI means he is savior or he is deliverer. He is savior or he is deliverer. Now, Hassad, you're a prophet. Yesterday you said 500 people would be in here. So this is how they break down YAHAWASHI, everybody. Look at the screen below. They say Yah means he, and then Hawashai means savior, because how where they get Yahawashai is Hosea. So they're saying Hosea
with a Yah in front of it.
Yeah, Hosea with the Yah in front of it. Hosea means savior or salvation, and then they put a he in front of that, and that's how you get YAHAWASHI. Put a 1 in the chat if you knew that, because I know a lot of people thought it was just Yahweh, the Father's name, and then somehow Shai meant salvation. Shai does not mean salvation. I mean, Israelites have lied and said that, but your best bet is to try to go this route. Your best bet is to try to go this route, because if you say it's Yahweh, because the Father's name is in his name, if you say it's Yahweh, the Father, and then if you say Shai means salvation, we're going to ask you, where the hell in the Bible does Shai mean salvation? So let's break this down, because the Bible tells you what his name is. You don't have to splice 2 Hebrew words together to get his name. Watch this. Just so you guys hear it. This is
Verse 21
One West.
tells you about that name. Okay. So once again, Yah meaning he, all right, and Hawashai, and you look it up in the Hebrew, all right. You could go to Romans chapter 9, verse 25 in the Blue Letter Bible, and where it says OC, and tap on that name OC and go into it. All right, it goes back to Hawashai, all right, which you see here it says salvation, but you know, in the Strong's is H1954. All right, so really, you know, it goes in the meaning save or deliver. Okay, you know, salvation going into save or deliver. All right, you can just look up the definition of the word salvation on Google. Okay, so when you put it together, YAHAWASHI, Yah meaning he, and Hawashai meaning save or deliver.
So that's how they break it down. Yah is he, Hawashai is delivered. So they splice together 2 Hebrew words. That's a problem, because the Bible says Joshua from the Old Testament and the Messiah would have the same name, and it's not spliced together. Whoever's selling caskets gonna make a lot of money if this get debated. If you guys just download this presentation, because they already look at us as the bully. They already look at us like bullies, so we can't do it. Take this presentation, y'all, and challenge them, because we need our brothers and sisters to level up and intellectually. Now, when we only look at Hebrew and Syriac consonants, watch the test, everybody. When we only look at Hebrew and Syriac consonants, shout out to my brother Mike 298. Here, I get it. It's like having the Rosetta Stone. You have 2 known languages to help decipher the unknown language. There we go. Bingo. Tape recorder. So let's look at YAHAWASHI. We're going to, how they splice it up. Hawashai. Let's look at Hawashai in the consonantal form to see if you know, it matches if it fits. Let's see if Hawashai fits the ancient manuscripts consonantally. You got something to say?
No.
Okay. So this is Hosea 1:1. The word of the Lord came in unto Hosea. Remember, the brother said, yeah, H1954. True. It will be H1954. Now they're saying that this is how you pronounce Hosea. Hawashai. Hawashai. And this is where you die. This is where you die. In a fun way, y'all. We're just having fun. The proper biblical Hebrew would be pronounced Hosea. We're going to prove that through the consonants and transliteration. How would you say it in Hebrew? Hosea. Proven vowels. The O sound, Hosea. This is when you strip it of the vowel markers. This is the consonantal structure you would get. Okay? Ho. And then you have the ion. So now, remember, y'all, there's an ion at the end. I got a treat for you guys, too.
So it should be Yehoshea.
I got a treat at the end of this, too. Watch this. Hebrew is built on consonants. You can debate vowels, but you can't swap letters in the Bible. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. In order for them to be correct, then they would have to go into the Hebrew manuscripts and say, I got to scratch this out and put this in there.
You got to cut it.
Hosea ends with an ion, everybody. In order for it to be, I need everybody to listen to this. This is a bomb. In order for Hosea to be Hawashai and end with the I sound, it would need a yod at the end. Hosea does not have a yod at the end. Hosea has the ion at the end. It's already over. It's just Hebrew alphabetical grammar and principles. In the Peshitta, the Syriac script, Hosea 1:1. This would be the name for Hosea. When we strip that from its vowel markers, this is the name we get. Even in the Aramaic, it ends with an ayin, not a yod. The yod, the Y sound, would give it the shy sound. That's not at the end of Hosea, nowhere in the Hebrew or Aramaic. Checkmate. Checkmate. And okay, no, let's keep going. So, how can we be certain? Watch this. Here's the treat that I wanted to give you guys. How can we be certain that the yod has to be on the end of the word to give the shy sound? How can we be certain? Oh, I'll tell you. How many of you guys use the blue letter regularly, or even sometimes, or all the time? Tell me how many of you guys use the blue letter Bible as far as the lexicon goes, sometimes, all the time, or every now and then? This is the treat I got for you guys. Oh, we can't trust the white man. We just use his lexicon in the blue letter Bible. We don't trust the white man, but we use his lexicon in the blue letter Bible. Thank God I got my brother Dr. Divine Prospect. Thank God I got my brother Zion Lex. Thank God I got my brother Jedediah. We don't just need the white man. Now watch this, y'all. How can we, because if we can prove emphatically you need a yod at the end for the shy sound, then Yahawashi is out. Absolutely out. And that's just one point. That's just one dagger. Watch this. Dr. Tudor Parfit. Dr. Tudor Parfit, I just had him on the show a few weeks ago.
We did it. This isn't just some random source. We literally spoke to this guy like about a week ago.
He agrees, and I spoke to him personally about YAHAWASHI in the name. I'm pretty sure he didn't even know Israelites use YAHAWASHI as the Messiah. I didn't even ask him that. There was no preconceived notions or presuppositions. Dr. Tudor Parfit, I asked him personally, does the yod need to be at the end of the Hebrew for the shy sound? He confirmed like a Don King perm. Confirmed like a Don King perm. Who is Dr. Tudor? He is a Semitic philologist and student, of Samuel Driver. Who's Samuel Driver, everybody? Take a look at your screen. Look at the Brown Driver Briggs lexicon. You know the lexicon that all you guys use when you're on the Blue Letter Bible? That's his professor. His name is Samuel Driver. It's Brown Driver Briggs because they came together collectively to create the lexicon. It's the same lexicon Israelites use, so don't give me that racist jargon. That's his professor. Samuel Driver is his professor. He's a philologist. He knows what the hell he's talking about. Oh, but it's not only that. We have Israelite scholars who agree. Don't worry. Oh, you guys use the Blue Letter, right? Jacinius Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. Another lexicon on the Blue Letter Bible that all Israelites use. He also agrees that the yod has to be at the end of the YAHAWASHI to make the shy sound. Not the ayin, or the ayin. Not the ayin consonant, which is in the actual text. So when you look at Hosea, you don't see the yod, you see the ayin. You would need if Hosea was Hawashai, you would need the yod. It's not there. So that would be Hebrew Israelites adding another word into the actual Hebrew manuscript, another letter, into what's written in the text. And again, at this point, it's not an argument about pronunciation. You guys are now adding into the Hebrew Bible what is written. That's different. Jediah, my brother who's in the chat, Jediah Malek, professional, lifelong Hebrew speaker and teacher, agrees as well. The yod has to be at the end of YAHAWASHI to make the shy sound, not the ayin consonant or the ayin consonant, which is in the actual text. Now, which pronunciation do we get when we look at the transliteration of Hawashai in ancient manuscripts? It's supposed to be Hosea there, but it's okay. What transliteration are we going to hear when we see how Hosea is transliterated in other ancient manuscripts? Is it going to sound like Hawashai, or is it going to sound like Hosea? Now, the O sound is more proof that there's vowels in the spoken language. But watch this, everybody. We didn't even need our brother Jediah. We didn't even need the Jacinius, and we didn't need Dr. Tudor, student of Driver, to prove that the yod has to be at the end for the shy sound. How else can we prove? Watch this, y'all. How else can we prove that Hosea doesn't have the shy sound in the ancient manuscripts? How else can we prove it? This is overkill. It's over still.
It's in the Bible.
Watch this. I'm going to tell you guys. If the transliterations do not give the I sound at the end, that actually proves you need a yod at the end for the I sound. I'm going to say that again. We already debunked the letters. The letters don't match up to a pronunciation of Hawashai. Now let's take a look at how the other translations pronounced and sounded out Hosea. Are they going to make it sound like there's an I sound at the end? Or is it going to sound like Hosea? Ooh-wee. Let's go. The Greek Septuagint transliteration of Hosea, transliterated directly from Hebrew. This is what it says. This is the name it gives in Hosea 1:1.
And you guys should be able to, my bad. That's the omega symbol, that first character on the left. So that's the O, first, further proving again that there are vowels in Hebrew, but just wanted to highlight that.
This is how you say it, everybody. What looks like a Q, an upside down Q rather, is the O sound. Proving when they're looking at Hosea in Hebrew, when they're hearing Hosea being said in Hebrew, when they're hearing it being read and said in Hebrew, they write it down like this, with an O, an S, a long E, and a short E. That's Osea or Hosea. Hosea. There's no I sound at all. This sounds nothing like YAHAWASHI. Nothing at all like YAHAWASHI. When will we stop? The Greek is absolutely capable of sounding out YAHAWASHI, but it did not. Look at this. It's capable. It would have said Hosea Sai, Hosea Sai, or Osea Sai. It did not even put the Sai sound at the end. Why? Because that's not at all how it sounds, how it's pronounced. The Latin Vulgate transliteration of Hosea 1:1, this just says it plain, Osea or OC. Well, Israelites say OC because they don't know Latin, but it's really Osea. Osea.
I wanted to highlight, if I could, whenever I get a chance.
Let me conclude real quick. If it wanted to say YAHAWASHI in the Latin Vulgate is fully capable, as you can see here on the bottom right, it would have said Osei, Osei, or Osai. No I sound, no sky sound whatsoever. It's fully capable of doing so. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, because that's a talking point they may try to use, is because of what Romans 9 in the King James, when Paul quotes Hosea, when it says, as it is written, and then it looks like it's saying in OC, C-O-C, YAHAWASHI, and they might try to play that game. But when you look at how you pronounce that word in the Greek, Strong's G5617, look how it's pronounced. I'm gonna play it.
Strong's G5617, Hosea. Hosea.
Is at the ends, not E. So there is no getting around this. So when Paul writes his letter to the church at Rome, he doesn't say YAHAWASHI, or well, not only YAHAWASHI, but he doesn't say the E at the end of Hosea. It's an in Greek when transliterated. So just wanted to address that.
So again, how can we be certain that a yod has to be at the end of the Hebrew word to give the shy sound? We proved it through scholars. We proved it through consonants, and we just proved it through transliterations. The I sound is not at the end of Hosea. So it's not YAHAWASHI, it's Hosea in the Hebrew. That's how you say Hosea in the Hebrew. Hosea. The Bible tells us. Now, here we go, y'all. Let's get to the Messiah's name. I just had to debunk the whole YAHAWASHI real quick.
Yeah, everybody got to lock in. We got to, matter of fact, y'all, if y'all buckle up, because here's where it's already been bad.
Now, the Bible tells us he would have the same Hebrew name as Joshua. Not two words spliced together. Yeah, see, Yah, and then Hosea means YAHAWASHI. That's debunked. In Acts 7:45, watch this, everybody. The KJV 1611. No J's in the alphabet yet. This says, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Jesus. Notice there's no J. This is the 1611 King James. Remember, y'all say he's black. This black, y'all say King James is black. This black man, some of y'all say he's a Hebrew Israelite with fringes. This black king with fringes on is telling you the proper pronunciation through transliteration of the Messiah. Jesus into the possession of the Gentiles. Now, this is speaking of Joshua from the time of Moses, though. But it's calling him Jesus in the Greek English transliteration. This means they would have the same name. We see the same name for this man in the Old Testament as we see the Messiah being called this same name. They both have the same name, same concordance number. It's from Hebrew, Strong's H 3091. Uh-oh. Here's Exodus 17:9. KJV 16:11. A black man who wore fringes. No J's in the alphabet yet. It says, and Moses said unto Eoshua. Oh my God. That's a dagger. Moses said unto Eoshua. Mind you, King James is translating the Old Testament. His scholars are translating directly from Hebrew. And he says, whatever this Hebrew word for Joshua is in Exodus 17:9, it sounds like in the English, Eoshua. Because the transliteration is an audio recording, essentially. So this is the same name that we get, the same name that Joshua was called in Acts 7:45 is the same name. Look at the bottom of the screen. The Strong's G2424, Jesus. Christ is called this same name. And then it tells you, hold on a second. Christ's name has a Hebrew origin. That's Strong's H30 and 91. Look at the writing in red. That's Strong's H3091. Holy macamole. Holy guacamole. The man Joshua during the time of Moses and Christ has the same name. Okay. So we look at the Hebrew and the Greek, and of course the Peshitta, and of course the Latin Vulgate. And we take a look at how are these names being transliterated throughout these languages so that we get the proper pronunciation. Okay. So this is the name that they share. This is the long form. This is the long form of the name that they share. Remember, it said they both share Strong's H3091. King James says, this sounds like Eoshua. Oh, okay. So he gave us a hint at what the proper name sounds like, the long form. And the Hebrew's correct here. Look at what it says, transliteration. Yehoshua. Look at the proper pronunciation. Yehoshua. So there you go, everybody. The proper pronunciation of the long form of the man Joshua from the time of Moses and the Messiah would be Yehoshua. Can I actually continue to prove this? Absolutely. Even the 1611 got it right. So it's pronounced Yehoshua. It has the O sound, more proof that there were vowels spoken in the language, even though they weren't written in the language. This is what you call hot grease.
This is beef tallow. This is Wagyu tallow is what this is.
When we only look at the Hebrew consonants, not vowel markers, in the historical manuscripts, does YAHAWASHI fit these consonants? Let's further bury that name. Here's Joshua 1:1. We're not dealing with the vowel markers, only the consonants. Now, hold on. According to transliterations and scholars, what Hebrew character, consonant, or letter has to be at the end of YAHAWASHI to give the shy sound? Let's get you guys involved here. According to all scholars for the last 3,000 years, from every race, including black, according to transliteration, What Hebrew consonant, letter, character has to be at the end of YAHAWASHI to give the shy sound? The yod. The yod. We proved that. Here's the problem, everybody. Let's go back. One West Israelites say that Yehoshua, this is how you say YAHAWASHI. Does anybody see a damn yod at the end of this?
Not only is there not a yod, but there's an extra wah, a wav. So so really it should be read YAHAWASHI. Unless the second wav is silent. How do you know that? Cuz nigga. All right.
Now, this is Joshua 1:1. No vowel markers, just straight up sounds and consonants. Joshua ends with the ayin. And it doesn't have an extra consonant like YAHAWASHI. That's over with. YAHAWASHI doesn't end with the yod. It has to. YAHAWASHI, we don't see this word ending with a yod, but if you want to pronounce YAHAWASHI in Hebrew, you would need that yod. Debunked. Let's dig them up again. How many times have we dug up this tradition? Because this isn't the gospel. This isn't the truth. This isn't facts. How many times have we dug up this tradition, buried it, dug it up again, and shot it again? Just in this one. Now, Yehoshua has an ayin consonant at the end. Remember, it would need a yod consonant to give the shy sound. That's debunked. Pronounce Yehoshua. That's the long form of their name, of their Hebrew name. Now, let's look at the short form of their name. This is when it gets worse. Ask somebody what's the short form of YAHAWASHI. Matter of fact, if you're in the chat, I know there's a Hebrew Lashawan Qadash scholar in here. What is the shortened form of YAHAWASHI? Because we see a shortened form of Yehoshua. It would have to follow the same structure and pattern. What is the shortened form of YAHAWASHI?
What's that song Feature had? You move that though. He was really move that yod. Move that yod, man. You move that yod.
Hey, Al-Shaja children. Well, I don't know who you are, but I can guarantee you're not. Are you a philologist or a PhD? Because I have both of those that said you have to have the yod, and I have Hebrew Israelite scholars who've been teaching this their whole life who said the same thing. So you, my man, have to sit back and continue to eat your Snickers bar while you watch this. I said the shortened form of YAHAWASHI, not the shortened form of Yehoshua. Okay, so somebody said what shy? What shy don't mean jack. That's true. What is the shortened form of YAHAWASHI? Because we see a shortened form of Yehoshua. So Nehemiah 8:17. This is in the 1611 KJV. Remember, he's according to Israelites, he's a black man. Where's fringes? No Y yet in the alphabet. And he says, and all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths for since the days of Yeshua. Wow. Can we let's just, you know what? Let's just we could everybody go home now. Even the KJV has it right. It's sounding out the name in Hebrew. Remember, King James commissioned 70 scholars to translate the Old Testament directly from Hebrew. And what did they hear in Hebrew? Yeshua. Doesn't that sound like Yeshua? Or even if you say Yeshua or Yeshua, Yeshua. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. It hurts. It calls Joshua, and remember right here, this isn't even talking about Christ yet, but it says Joshua, the man that during the time of Moses and Christ shared the same name, long form and short form. So it calls Joshua Yeshua in the Hebrew, which means he saves. Uh-oh. You guys know why he saves is highlighted in red? Because you see the root word is Yehoshua, which is to save. Now watch this, y'all. Yehoshua is the long form of the name of the Messiah. That's how you say it in Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. Yeshua is the shortened form of how you say the Messiah's name. That's commonly used in the New Testament. That's how you say it in biblical Hebrew. It's like Joshua and Josh. So ask yourself, everybody, here's the trick bag that you can ask a one Wester. What is the shortened form of YAHAWASHI? I've never heard it. And then when they tell you that, it has to match the consonants of Yeshua. It can't have a yod at the end. And then on top of that, the meaning would have to be he saves. Yeshua means to save or he saves. That's the shortened form of Yehoshua. Whatever the shortened form of YAHAWASHI is would have to mean he saves. Please demonstrate that to me right now. Somebody said, you're shy. Oh, shy means to save? Where? Oh, there's a bear. Where? Over there. This is the same as playing with Gak. That's how old I am. Gak. Here are the consonants in Hebrew. No vowel markers for Yeshua in the text. Let's see if it ends with a yod and it gives some type of shy sound. It doesn't. It's Yeshua. And then it gives the ayin. No yod at the end. Now, look at the possible shortened forms. Look at the possible shortened forms of YAHAWASHI. It don't fit. It does not fit the consonants. And it don't mean to save. Or even he saves. These are some of the possible shortened forms. Hawashai. It ends with a yod. That's out. It can't be Yeshua because Yeshua doesn't end with a yod. Yeshai. Yeshai. That doesn't match the consonants. It doesn't mean to save. Washai. Washai ends with a yod. Yeshai ends with a yod. Hawashai ends with a yod. These don't match with the Hebrew letters. So if you compare them, Yeshua matches the root. The root means to save, Yehoshua. Hawashai doesn't match the root and ends with a yod. Yeshai doesn't match the root and ends with a yod. Washai doesn't match the root and ends with a yod. None of them mean to save or he saves except Yeshua. Even when we look at the consonants of Yeshua in the Syriac script, not the vowel markers, it does not fit these possible shortened forms of YAHAWASHI. This is in the Peshitta, Nehemiah 8 and 17. This is the word Yeshua. And you see the consonants. Hawashai, Yeshai, Washai, none of them fit. They all end with yods, and none of them means to save. None of them even fit the skeletal structure of the consonants in the Peshitta. In Syriac, Yeshua, from the root to save, YAHAWASHI, these shortened forms of YAHAWASHI, they drop the A in, so they can't, not only do they end with a yod, I forgot, they end with a yod and they drop the ayin. That means they drop a letter from what's in the Bible and they add one. Do you guys get that? They drop a letter that's actually in the Hebrew text and then they add one to it. Ain't that breaking Deuteronomy 4 and 2? You know what they say, everybody. If the consonants don't fit, you must acquit. We're almost done here. So what pronunciation do we get when the Messiah's name was transliterated into all these ancient texts? Will we see YAHAWASHI or will we see Yeshua? Let's examine. Greek Septuagint, almost 1,000 years before the Hebrew had written vowels in the script, we see the Greek transliterated word for Yeshua transliterated directly from Hebrew. And remember, Greek and Latin didn't need vowel points. They already had them. They're just preserving how the name would actually sound in their time, an audio recorder. Nehemiah 8 and 17 in the Greek Septuagint. Oh my God. This is exactly what they call Christ in the New Testament. But what does it mean in Greek? They took Yeshua and they sounded it out and they wrote these Greek alphabet letters. This is the Greek transliterating of the name Yeshua. Look at what it says here on the right, guys. I-E-S-O-U. And it depends on if it's in the accusative where you get another S. So you'll get Iesu or Iesus. Now remember, transliterations, depending on the language, won't give the exact sound, but it's pretty damn close. This is Iesus. Underlying Semitic structure, Yeshua. Now, the Greek could have gave YAHAWASHI, but it didn't. It could have gave the shy at the end. The Greek is capable of doing this. Sai or asai or ci or say I. It doesn't. The same Greek name for Yeshua in Nehemiah 8 and 17 in the Greek, this same word is used for Christ. Hebrew name is, for proving Christ's Hebrew name is Yeshua. That's what the angel told his mama to name him. The angel didn't say anything remotely close to name him YAHAWASHI. Matthew 1 and 21. In the KJV 1611, a black man with fringes, right? No J's in the alphabet yet. Look at how he does it. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus. Not Sai. For he shall save his people from their sins. Even in this verse actually transliterates his name, then it transliterates his name and it sounds it out, then it translates what the name means. This is a dagger. It transliterates the sound and pronunciation, then it tells you what it means. Jesus has to mean he saves or to save. No, and it's the shortened form of Yehoshua. No shortened form of YAHAWASHI can come close to this. Even if you say it's Shah, Shah is not there, my boy. Now, Jesus, this is what the angel told him to call him. This is what's in the Greek. Jesus, underlying Semitic structure. This is how you say Yeshua in Greek. Jesus, not even close to YAHAWASHI. There's only one place in the Bible where Christ identifies himself by name. Let's see if he says Yeshua or YAHAWASHI. There's only one place. Acts 9 and 5. KJV 1611. No J's yet in the alphabet. And he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Yeshua. I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Transliterated the word Jesus. If he identifies himself as Yeshua, why the hell would you not honor his proper true name? Some of y'all are going to look at this evidence and still say, and it's still YAHAWASHI.
They're not. You know what's the saddest part about it? I want to say this to the person, brother or sister, who's conflicted right now. Like, I don't know what to do. Just look at the information and pray to the Most High about it. But you'd be doing yourself a disservice, and you'd be going against the Bible. For example, when it says, "Whoever answers a matter before he hears it, it is shame and folly unto him." Or when it says in Sirach 11, "Blame not before you have examined the truth." You owe it to yourself to find out what is true and what is not true. And you can't just for the sake of comfortability say, "Oh, I don't want to, I'm scared." That's what you're admitting. You're scared of the truth. You're scared to admit that you're wrong. What do you love
And they're
more?
scared of persecution.
Yeah. It says what it says. It's clear. There's no getting around this.
This is the Latin Vulgate.
Irrefutable.
We're going to wrap it up real shortly here. I didn't want to go this long anyway, but the Latin Vulgate, 400 AD. How does it pronounce Yeshua when transliterating directly from the Hebrew? Is it going to sound like YAHAWASHI? No. This is Nehemiah 8 and 17 in the Latin Vulgate. This is how they sounded it out. Iesue or Iesu. Iesue. Attempting to get the same sound from Hebrew as Yeshua. Iesue. Iesue. If it were YAHAWASHI, they could use the shy sound or the sigh sound. But it doesn't. Yosue or Yesue. Again, even in the English Bible, you die because English transliterating these names to how they would sound in the English. Nehemiah 8 and 17 says Yeshua, sounding exactly like Yeshua. Names are transliterated. Here's the Peshitta, New Testament, 400 AD, circa, Syriac script, Matthew 1 and 21. It says Yeshua, and thou shalt call his name Yeshua. It doesn't put a yod at the end or sound anything close to YAHAWASHI. The Ethiopian Orthodox. I mean, how many ancient manuscripts do you want me to go to, guys? The Ge'ez Bible. In the Ge'ez language, 500 AD circa, before vowel points, how did they transliterate the Lord's name? Does it sound like YAHAWASHI or Yeshua? Nehemiah 8 and 17 in the Ge'ez, Ethiopic script. It's highlighted. You know what it says? Yesu. Yesu. Is it overkill, Hassan?
Yeah, it's been overkill, but it's just good.
Philo. Well, let me just get these last two slides. Philo, the Israelite, uses Iesus when referring to Joshua of the Old Testament. Philo is highlighted right there. He uses Iesus, the equivalent to Yeshua. Josephus, when referring to Joshua, he uses Iesus. All praises to the Most High. The name of the Son, his long form name is Yehoshua. His short form name is Yeshua. That's more common, Yeshua. That's what the angel told his mama to name him, and that's what he identified himself as. Proper pronunciation, Yeshua. All praise to the Most High. Woo! Man. Hassad, you wanted to say something?
Man, this was you know what's crazy is there was a couple times I could tell where I wanted to kind of add my little salt and pepper, but you was cooking with gas. You had the Creole seasoning, you had the slap your mama seasoning in there. I just let you go. That was damn near 2.5 hours of what is it when you double fry something, you fry it, you take it out, then you batter it again, then you fry it again. Man.
At this time, we'll open it up for questions, comments, or smoke. I did not want to make this class 3 hours, so I'll open it up for questions, comments, and smoke. You already know we ain't turning down nothing, of course not. And if there's a public challenge, we definitely not turning down no public challenges, but we rather just build, you know what I mean? link in the chat. Remember, y'all, download that PDF. Download the PDF so you can get the link to this free presentation. All praise to the Most High.
Yeah, make sure too, y'all, if y'all could like and share the video, that would be greatly appreciated. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do and hit the notification bell. When you hit the notification bell, it's going to say all, none, personalized, hit all. That way, whenever we go live, you'll get a notification. You won't miss anything.
Somebody said, so who had this revelation first, Deacon or Hassad?
It's not a revelation, though.
It's not, but we would have a better chance proving how One West, the name One West uses for the Father than the Son. So even internally within the One West organization, the Lashawan Qadash has always been spurious and dubious. What does that mean? There's been doubts. I'm sorry, dubious. There's been doubts about it. We can't prove it. We just believe it by faith. Even our elders say they believe it by faith. They can't prove it. So sometimes, not all of them, but some of our elders will say they believe it by faith. They can't prove it. Emmanuel would be a title. That's not what the angel told his mama to name him. And that's not what he identified himself as in Acts chapter 9, verse 5. Or you could say one of the names, but when it says the name you're saved by, that's Yeshua. Now, I'm saying that would be his name proper. I do not believe that if you don't give a that it's salvific, but you definitely want to, be informative and educational.
You're live. JKB, what's up?
Hey, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, the people in the chat.
Shalom, you got a question or a comment?
Oh, no, not at all. I just wanted to make it clear that Lashawan Qadash cannot be a spoken language because it lacks the simple vowels that every language has. For example, if you say Shamai Yashara Al in Lashawan Qadash, Shamai is pronounced as Shin, a Mem, and Yod, right? Shamai. But if you say Shama Yashara Al, it can have two different meanings. Listen, Israel, as the command, the order, or it can also mean Israel has heard in the past tense. Gotcha. So in biblical Hebrew is Shema Yisrael, meaning listen. But if I say Shama Yisrael, it means Israel has heard. So the shift, the pronunciation makes the meaning. But in Lashawan Qadash, Shama Yashara Al, I say two different things the same way. So it cannot function as a language.
Yeah, there's no other language that you would hear on the planet Earth that goes Arababa, Daba Gaba, Abracadabra, Baba Gaba. It just, I'm not trying to be respectful, but that just doesn't sound like a language that anyone can speak and then speak to somebody else that can then be understood and then reciprocated.
It cannot. Even a verb stem. For example, in Hebrew, to write, he wrote in Hebrew is katav. So if I say I wrote a book, ani katavti sefer, I wrote a book, katavti is, I wrote, but if I say he wrote, katav. But the kal stem and the pl stem is katav, written the same way without the vowels. And the hofal stem and the hefil stem written the same way without the vowels. So really you won't be able to tell which stem of a verb is used in Lashawan Qadash. So if you read it, you won't even be able to understand a sentence. It's open to interpretation at this point.
That's what the brother Jediah was showing. So how do you, when you have the word in the consonants of the word malak, is it malak? Is it melek? Is it molek? Because all three different can give you a different definition. One can be a king, one can be a temple prostitute, one can be the idol molek, or it can be an angel, depending on the pronunciation in the context. So which one is it, and how do you know?
You won't know. The elder the other time said malak, 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 malak. That makes no sense.
But that's a good point. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, that's it. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Hezekiah, what's going on, brother? You're live.
Hey, shalom alaikum.
Shalom.
Shalom alaikum. How goes it, King?
Not too bad, brother. What's going on?
Toe. Anyway, I was just calling in to check with you brothers. Somehow I got an echo. I don't know how. But let me get this out. Enjoy the information, good stuff. All praises to the Abba. You know, I have made it a plan or a focus to dealing with my brothers and to deal with my brothers the best way possible. And so, you know, I've been using Yahuwah, Yehoshua, Yahushua, you know, since I've been in the truth. But at times when I break bread with brothers who might be one West, you know what I'm saying, I don't hold that against them if they say YAHAWASHI or if they say whatever the case. If they say Shalom, I say Shalom. It's not going to hurt me to say Shalom. You know what I'm saying? So it's more important for me to be brothers with brothers than to be enemies with brothers over small things like that. But that's not why I clicked in here. I was reading today in Leviticus 19, and I know this is off topic, but if y'all don't mind, I know I love to use you brothers' scholarly minds because y'all know stuff that I don't know. So at Leviticus 19, I just discovered this today, verse 23.
Okay.
Can we have a look at that if you don't mind?
It says, and when you come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then you shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you, it shall not be eaten of.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're not going to eat that fruit for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then in the 4th year, verse 24.
But in the 4th year, you shall, so all the fruit thereof, but in the 4th year, all the fruit thereof shall be holy to praise the Lord withal.
And then finally, verse 25, in the 5th year.
Verse 25, and in the 5th year you shall eat of the fruit thereof, that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God.
So, I mean, it clearly saying that once we get to the land, we're going to have 5 years with no fruit.
No, so the first 3,
am I misinterpreting that?
First 3 you can't eat. 4th year you got to give it all to the Most High. And then the 5th year, so it's technically 4 years you can, and in the 5th you can.
Okay, so in the 5th we will. So, have y'all ever seen that before? I mean, y'all ever paid any attention to that?
Yeah, I probably just didn't look too much into it, but I've read it before, absolutely.
Yeah, I read it. I just didn't like it. Didn't register. Like, can you imagine what that is going to be when we can finally eat that fruit? That's going to be like equivalent to Passover almost. I mean, that's going to be a celebration.
No, that's a cut though on brothers who say the Most High never intended for, who only intended for us to eat fruits and stuff. So, but yeah, brother, it's been 3 hours, man. You're always welcomed on here. I'm sweating. I've been cooking in hot grease, cooking these guys on this YAHAWASHI topic. So we appreciate you, brother. All praise to the Most High.
About you're sweating, bro. I have a 102-degree fever. I'm dying over here.
You ready to get some water, man?
All praise to the Most High.
Shalom.
Appreciate
Shalom, brother. Not 102 no more.
Shalom.
Yesterday.
Okay. All right. Here's what I'll do. I got 2 minutes. Since nobody clicked the link, nobody wants to smoke. It's okay. You could have just asked questions. Since nobody's clicking the link, let's take 90 seconds, 2 minutes to just type your questions in the chat. In this case, I come late, so what we have to say. If you haven't watched the video and you're asking a question, respectfully, we want you to rewind the video and then you can get the information. I'd rather you get the information. Somebody said 102 fever, go to the doctor.
I'm feeling better today, even though I still feel awful. So I'm good.
How do we know that his name can be shortened grammatically? Nehemiah 8:17. The Bible tells us that Acts 7:45, it gives you the same name for Joshua as what Jesus is being called in the first century. Then that same name is in the shortened form in Nehemiah 8:17. Then that same name in the Greek is the common name used for the Messiah.
And that's what Christ identifies himself as in Acts 9.
Then that same in the Greek is the common name used for.
You got the video playing in the background, Elder. As in Acts 9.
Then that same. Oh, you got to turn off that YouTube. Okay.
I got you, brother.
Shalom, Elder. What's going on?
Shalom, man. Man, I thought it was like excellent scholarship. The fact that it was very thorough. And we talk about this before. Scripture says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. So when we say we're Shemitic, right, we're descendants of Shem, we should be able to go to other Shemitic languages as witnesses to prove the Messiah's name and how it was pronounced, to prove the Most High's name, and y'all did that tonight. And that's what I thought was really powerful. Aside from that, y'all went into the Greek and y'all went into the Latin, which is the Roman language, to further prove that. So that's like, you got like 5 witnesses there, and then you got English, I thought it was amazing. I mean, the way YAHAWASHI, to pronounce it that way, you have to take away letters from the name and then add in new letters, which again breaks the commandments. So so some people will say, well, the language is not really a salvation issue, but what happens when someone's given us a language that actually changes the words of the Most High itself? Then is that an issue? Is that something the Most High wants us to be worked out before he saves us as a nation? He'll save us.
You're right.
It's a very recent issue.
I should have said that, but I already know how controversial it's going to be. But the elder is absolutely right. If you don't know the language, you don't even know what commandments to keep. You don't even know if you're sinning or not. Now, that's not with every single law, but that's a high potential in a lot of cases if you don't know the Hebrew. That's for sure.
Can I share a scripture with everybody in the camp?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Could y'all pull up John chapter 7? Verse 15. Everything we do, we're supposed to be like the Messiah. So I want to show this of the Messiah and what he did.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
John 7:15, and the Jews marveled, saying, how knoweth this man letters, having never learned?
So if it was important for the Messiah to know letters, how could we diminish the importance of knowing the letters when the Messiah knew it? He taught it. You know what I'm saying? So we should be able to understand the letters because he did. And he got it straight from the Father, but he left clues. Another excellent point y'all said was the transliteration is like a tape recorder. So he left clues of the letters for us on how to pronounce it and how to sound it out, through those transliterations. That was really powerful.
All praise to the Most High.
All praises. Hey, y'all. Wednesday classes, we got the elder who does the Wednesday Hebrew classes, And it's been fire, y'all. Y'all getting that for the free 99. Brother got powerful literature too on his website. So tune in so you guys can be on here on Wednesday when we're going into the biblical Hebrew. And you can go and ask your elders and cook up some. It ain't got to be smoke or contentious, but you can bring some questions about the LQ and what we believe to be the biblical Hebrew, and we can build like that. All praises.
All praises. At the end of the day, this is the reason why we're doing this is, and I'm hope this is being demonstrated by us working together, is unity, is brotherhood and sisterhood for our people, for the camps and for the congregations, for us to be one. It's for us to share the language. And nobody has a monopoly. When we all practice and learn this thing together, then it brings us together as a community in a way that heals us, and language is one of them. I think there's 3 pillars to culture. There's food, language, and
Religion.
Religion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Hey, that's what we need. That's what we need. So again, y'all, every Wednesday we'll have the elder on. We'll be examining the Lashawan Qadash. We'll be teaching some biblical Hebrew. And if you wanted to get into it, this is your chance, y'all. The brother is gracious enough to come on the show. It's gonna be on TGC Ministries every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. So I want you guys, that was John chapter 7, verse 15. That was John chapter 7, verse 15. Now, everybody keep asking me, what's the name of the Most High?
Tune into next week's Hebrew class. No.
You know what though was really great? When y'all was going into the book of Joel, the name of the prophet tells you the vowels that's used in the Most High's name itself. Because Joel has a meaning to it.
No,
So
that's a good point. I was studying that because when I was putting this together, I was like, "Ooh, the yo is a shortened form of the Most High's name." Am I right or wrong?
That's right. So these again are clues that help us to know how do we pronounce the Most High's name.
Yeah.
Do we say Yahweh? Do we say Yahuwah? Do we say Yehovah? Do we say Yahweh? Let's look at the names of the prophets. Let's look at the names of the books of the Bible that give us clues on how to pronounce the name. Yoel is short for something. It's a contracted state of 2 words. So those are things that we want to look at to help. This again, when we talk about helping our people to learn the law of the language. So these words show us the laws. The grammar is the laws, the Torah of the language. So these are that was great. The Joel, I was like, he just proved some other things that he didn't even realize. And
all praises. So before we get up out of here, can you tell the audience how long you've been reading, speaking, and then teaching biblical Hebrew?
I was born in the truth to my parents. I'm 48 now. I back in those days in Brooklyn, there was a private school for Hebrew children called the IPI, the Israelite Preparatory Institute. I have some photos of that somewhere too. And in that school, it was like a elementary school for Hebrews that certain parents got together and they had for Hebrew children. I came up in there up until I think the 2nd or 3rd grade, and we learned Hebrew. We would learn Hebrew words. We was keeping the Sabbath day and learning with other children until we went to public school. And then around that time, I started going to a congregation in Brooklyn called B'nai Adat. It burned down a couple of years ago. But in there, they had the Torah scrolls without vowels on it. And we had to go up there and read the Torah scrolls every Shabbat day. They had 7 readers every Sabbath. And you had to get up there. We unroll the scrolls. The scrolls was just, Aramaic text, no vowels. You had to get up there and read. So we had a lot of Hebrew teachers. We had from several congregations back at that time. Most notable was Moreh Mishael. You had Cohen Lewy. You had Moreh Hoshea, Moreh Aharon, Moreh Tebach. There's just so many.
There's
Who,
so much history. One West thinks all of this started with Abba Bivens and them, not knowing that there's so many other, so-called Black Israelites before that, and thousands of them outside of the One West, what we call camps. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring together the camps and what we would call the congregations, because it's bigger than One West. All right. So this is an example of that. Me and Brother Jediah working.
Yeah, So, my father, he was a rabbi in the congregation, and twice a week, we would go to our Hebrew classes. We would have Hebrew classes during the week, twice a week. I think it was Tuesday and Thursday under Moreh Hoshea. He was like my tutor. And on Tuesdays and Thursday, I would go there. And then on Shabbat, we had the Shabbat the Hebrew classes. So that's like 3 times a week, And so we learn the different stems. We learn past tense, present tense, future tense.
What year, to put it in perspective, what year do you remember, like, being in there, seeing all your Hebrew Israelite elders reading the Torah scrolls?
Oh man,
fluently.
That's like the late 80s and all through the 90s.
Okay.
All through the 90s.
Gotcha.
And then my parents before that. You had some elders in the Bronx that Kol Sherit, that means the whole remnant. That I remember that was Moreh. Man, I should know his name. It slips my mind. But you had some great teachers that taught our people the language and the history, and that's how we came up. And then I got to mention the brothers DCB who keep that flame going today. And there's certain other congregations. I don't know, all of them are still around because I'm, believe in Messiah now. But those were some of the Torah only congregations. So shalom to those brothers. But but I used to see the Messiah in the Tanakh, and nobody could answer the questions. And I'm like, there's a Messiah here. You know what I'm saying? Who is this? Who is he?
You know what? I gotta get you. We don't have a lot of Old Testament only so-called One West Israelites, but Zion Lex and you, how you guys are with the Old Testament, as far as you guys used to not believe and then you started to believe. I definitely want to get you guys together, man, and let's
Shout
do
out to
some type of
Zion Lex, and he knows a lot of the same teachers and a lot of the same, so he can be another witness to some of the history there. And that's how we came up. So yeah, I came up. I was always battling Christians and One West Hebrews, and in the Tanakh in high school in class. I bring my Tanakh to school, and I would battle all the time in school, in my classes. While the teachers would get upset, I just didn't care. I was really zealous for it,
Yep.
and that's how we came up. And then we used to see the brothers on the camps in the street, and I just be, man, these are some great Israelites, but they believe in Jesus. So at the time, I had to unlearn the Christianity side that I thought about Jesus, and then learn who the true Messiah was. I had to learn that. So I had to unlearn and relearn. So that's why I admire what y'all are doing, because all of us, in the book of Revelations, I think it's chapter 12, it says the dragon deceived the whole world. So there's none of us here that we're not deceived by the adversary. Even if we know we're Israelites and all that stuff, we've been deceived on certain things. And it's no slight to anybody. All of us have been deceived at one, or we thought certain things, and we have to learn as children again. And when we do that, that's how we get closer to Messiah. And some people don't want to do it, because then sometimes that means you got to face trials and tribulations, persecutions. But in the book of Acts, when the Pharisees was they were persecuting the apostles, they rejoiced in that. They said, "Man, we've been worthy to suffer affliction for His name's sake." That encouraged them.
No, ask Hassan. So when I made that post, when I made the post initially, this post, it got like 30,000 views. And I got so much hate. Listen, I got so much hate mail, and I'm calling Hassad. I'm laughing. He was like, Hassad was like, "Do you enjoy this?" And I was like, he was like, "You're troll." He said, "You enjoy trolling." I was like, "Okay, a little bit of it is trolling, but I'm laughing because I enjoy the persecution." A lot of these guys who make these insulting statements or try to ridicule us, respectfully, like these are not guys who like been through something. You know, like I've had a hard life. I've got thick skin, and you know, I'm ready for the persecution. Now, if you're not being persecuted, there's two types of persecutions. Well, three. There's persecution because you did something wrong. There's persecution because you're under the curses. Then there's persecution for the namesake of the Messiah, doing his mission, doing his will. And so I take glory in that. All praise to the Most High. But you know, I appreciate everybody for coming out, y'all. We have reached the 3-hour mark. We'll be live with the elder on Wednesday. We'll be live Sunday. Remember, y'all, Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Put it in your listen. You don't want to miss the live shows. It's gonna be mostly live shows. Put it in your alarm clock. Put in your alarm app on your phone. I said alarm clock. I'm too old. Put it in your alarm on your phone. Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays. What's the name of the Most High? What are we going to subscribe to as far as Genesis goes? Maybe we'll do a presentation on that Friday. But one thing I do know for sure is that there's a Yah in the name.
I was going to say it's Yah.
Yah is in the name. That's for sure what we do know. So we definitely want to dig and be thorough on that and be able to understand it, improve it, and research it ourselves, not just regurgitate a tradition. We want to be able to go in and prove that like we did today. So maybe that's what the next Friday class will be about. Somebody said debate Ariala. Tell them to click.
Ariala won't say our names 3 times while looking in a window.
No, listen. Send him this link. Copy and paste this link and send it to him, and see if he wants to join.
Watch it when he says my name. Watch a drip of sweat come down his forehead. Watch what that happens. Shalom, everybody.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom, brother. But yeah, y'all. Again, we wanted to do this as a presentation to give you guys the information. All right. So yeah, look, of course, we're talking about he's still your brother, of course. That's still our brother. We didn't wish any harm on him. We didn't curse him. He wishes death on us. He curses us. So there's a difference. We're following God. He's not. We're just saying if there was a challenge on the language, we would take the challenge. That's it. Okay, y'all. So at the end of the day, Friday we might do a thorough breakdown on the name of the Father. Other than that, we want to get back into prophecies. You know, this war is still going on, and make sure your house is in order. Make sure your spirit is in order. Make sure your family is keeping the commandments, and because we are at the end, y'all. All right. So let's end this by giving all praise to the Most High Yah, Ba'Shem Yeshua. Oh, you see how that's real Hebrew. And we do so by Shem Yeshua. I'll see y'all on Sunday. Shalom.